Chapter 1685. Flame Region. Everything within a radius of several thousand miles was a deep red, flaming mountain range. The majestic peaks were like ancient beasts that guarded this strange land. Not even a blade of grass grew here. One could even clearly see the exposed rivers of lava. The winding and rugged lava rivers were like giant red dragons, shuttling in and out of mountain streams and valleys. In the center of this blazing mountain range, there was a Zen platform in an especially vast canyon. The steps of the Zen platform were clear. There were giant pillars around it. In the center of the platform, there was a particularly majestic gate. The gate was connected from the front to the back. Looking from afar, it was just a symbolic building. However, if one were to take a closer look, one would discover that there was a faint circle of light hovering in the sky above this building that resembled the legendary gate of the Heavenly Palace. The circle of light was about 3,000 feet in diameter. It looked like a complete rainbow. The interior of the circular rainbow was faintly emitting a strange spatial rhythm, giving off the feeling that it was a space-time gate that led to another world. That's the entrance to the Flame Region. 3 figures flashed across the sky and stopped above the Zen platform in the canyon. The serious star guard Rao Felwan pointed at the rainbow and said to Chu Hen cautiously, "I'm still a little worried. Why don't Li Wushang and I go in first to see what's going on?" The mysterious person who had suddenly appeared, the sudden familiar aura, especially during this sensitive period after the lightning sacred clan's extermination. It was indeed thought-provoking for Chu Hen to be called the sky-burning sacred clan by the mysterious person. Li Wushang also looked at Chu Hen solemnly. It was obvious how important Chu Hen was to the demon Eye Sacred clan now. If anything were to happen to him, it would affect the future of the entire demon Eye Sacred clan. However, Chu Hen shook his head. No need. In Chu Hen's opinion, there was no need for Li Wushang and Rao Felwan to go in and inspect first. No matter what, the Sky-Burning Saint clan was one of the 10 strongest holy clans. Even if they wanted to join forces with the Holy-Eyed Saint clan to deal with Yi Futian, there was no need for them to play such tricks. They had the ability to destroy the demonic Eye Saint clan. Furthermore, Chu Hen was eager to know the identity of that mysterious woman and his relationship with the Chaos race. "Then let's go in," Li Wushang said. "In." Chu Hen nodded. Shortly after, the 3 of them moved, turning into streaks of afterimages as they flew towards the rainbow halo in the sky. Buzz, halo-shaped ripples spread out in the middle of the circular rainbow, and wisps of crimson light arcs appeared in the air. "There's a restriction," Li Wushang said softly, but then he made a sound of surprise. A hint of surprise flashed across Chu Hen and Rao Felwan's eyes. It was not strange for there to be a restriction. Even ordinary forces and sects would set up restrictions at the mountain gate or at the entrance to prevent outsiders from entering. As one of the 10 strongest holy clans, it was natural for the Sky-Burning Saint clan to leave a restriction at the entrance to the Flame Region. But what puzzled Chu Hen and the other 2 was that the restriction seemed to have been destroyed. Although it had been activated, there was no disturbance to the 3 of them. Also, under normal circumstances, when the 3 of them approached the entrance to the Flame Region, or even the Flame Mountain Range, they should have been noticed by the patrolling guards of the Sky-Burning Saint clan. But now, there's a situation, Rao Felwan said firmly. The 3 of them looked at each other and nodded slightly, signaling each other to be more vigilant. Buzz, then, a strong spatial rhythm stacked up, and Chu Hen and the other 2 seemed to have passed through a layer of reflection on the surface of the water. However, on the other side of the water was another world. A scorching wave of air hit them in the face. The sound of flames burning over a large area was clearly heard. In front of Chu Hen, Li Wushang, and Rao Felwan was a real flame region. There was an endless crimson fire region, majestic cliffs, and towering mountains, with scorching rivers of lava flowing under them. Many stone bridges hung in the air, showing off the power of the world. Looking into the distance, there were many majestic palaces, pavilions, and many other buildings in the depths of the flame domain. All of them gave off an extraordinary aura. Flame region. By city. The independent spatial realm where the sky-burning Saint Clan was located. This is, however, what shocked Chu Hin and the other two was not the majestic grandeur of the Flame region's flames, nor was it the uncanny craftsmanship of the palaces in Bai City. Instead, it was the horrifying and miserable scene that appeared in front of him. Corpses were everywhere. The flames of war were burning. At a glance, there were bloodied corpses that had lost all signs of life. What's going on? Li Wuxiang and Rao Failwan's expressions changed as they looked at the corpses in the flame region. Even Chu Hin's eyes narrowed. His brows were filled with solemnity and bewilderment. Something had happened to the sky-burning Saint Clan. An extremely uneasy aura surged in Chu Hin and the other two's hearts. At the same time, the doubts in their hearts grew stronger. After a brief moment of hesitation, a smear of resolution flashed across Chu Hin's eyes. His body moved, passing through the spiritual platform of the giant peak, and directly flew in the direction of the Bai City. Ralph Failwan wanted to stop him, but before she could finish speaking, he had already flashed several miles away. Li Wuxiang and Rao Failwan immediately chased after Chu Hin as well. There were corpses everywhere. Severed limbs were scattered all over the place. Without exception, those who had fallen on the ground were all members of the sky-burning Saint Clan. When Chu Hin and the other two entered the Bai City, the miserable state of the city caused their pupils to shrink. Blood flowed like a river. Broken corpses were strewn everywhere. No matter if they were men, women, young, old, or fire spirit beasts, there was not a single survivor. More than half of Bai City's central hall had collapsed. The plaza in front was directly dyed red with blood. The sky-burning Saint Clan's flag fell to the ground. Countless eyes were wide open, staring at the world with extreme reluctance and fear. Looking at this scene, Li Wuxiang and Rao Failwan felt their scalps prickle and their backs turn cold. The word clan exterminated was like a thunderbolt that exploded in their hearts. This scene, it seemed familiar, because that year, the demonized Saint Clan had also encountered such a situation. It was too familiar, too glaring. It was too terrifying, causing one to tremble in fear. What had happened? Rao Failwan clenched her fists and said in a low voice, "Who did it?" Confused. Chu Hin's eyebrows tightly wrinkled. His pair of deep and gloomy pupils surged with a dense, frosty chill. This was the sky-burning Saint Clan, one of the 10 strongest Saint Clans. They were exterminated just like that. Not even the slightest wind had spread. Wind? In Chu Hin's mind, the mysterious woman who made him come here once again appeared. Was it done by the force behind her? Chu Hin did not dare to believe it. The power that woman controlled indeed had the aura of the chaotic body. She must be related to the chaotic clan that had disappeared. Could it be done by the force behind her? Chu Hin secretly shook his head. Definitely not. If the force behind her had the power to exterminate the sky-burning Saint Clan, there was no need for them to hide in this world. They could even swagger in the Sacred Clan Conference. Suddenly, just at that moment, an aura that made one's heart palpitate noiselessly attacked Chu Hin's heart. His expression suddenly changed. He saw that on a tower in the south, a mysterious figure had appeared out of nowhere. That person was rather tall, wearing a long black robe, and had a ghost mask on his face. The mask had the image of a malicious ghost, with sharp horns and exposed green teeth. It gave people the feeling that it was a demon from hell. "Who is it?" Rao Failwan shouted. Chu Hin and Li Wuxiang were also very vigilant. Before he finished speaking, the black-clothed man wearing the ghost mask moved. He actually used the method of continuous teleportation to attack them. A formless, majestic aura arrived like a storm. Before Chu Hin and the others could understand what was going on, the other party directly took out a palm. In an instant, accompanied by the momentum of a mountain, a surging golden palm energy shrouded the three of them. Rumble, the power of one palm was enough to split the mountains and rivers. Chu Hin's body shook, and he raised his arms. A monstrous purple whirlpool formed like a hurricane. Under the terrifying pressure of the palm energy, the purple storm around Chu Hen directly exploded, along with the sunken and distorted space and the collapsed tower below. Chu Hen was actually pressed to the ground by the other party's palm. Li Wuxiang and Rao Feilwan were sent flying, one after the other, into a palace and a pavilion behind them. Bang! Bang! The palace and pavilion collapsed. Li Wuxiang and Rao Feilwan both clutched their chests and spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. The former frowned deeply and shouted in disbelief. A Great Emperor Expert. Chapter 1686. A Great Emperor Expert. Their faces quickly turned from red to white. In regions by city, before Chu Hen could figure out what was going on, the sudden appearance of the mysterious man in black was like a blow to his head. Chu Hen's dark and deep pupils trembled. Along with the sharp sound of air waves, his eyes turned into a pair of demonic purple pupils. Chu Hen's demonic godlike gaze seemed to be able to see through the other party's mask. A deep and rough voice came from the hideous ghost mask. Chu Hen clenched his fists slightly, his expression solemn. "You're not qualified to ask me questions." His palm was like a rising wind and clouds. The sky above by city suddenly surged as the man in black set off a tsunami-like attack toward Chu Hen. The aura of the man in front of him was far stronger than that of the Lightning Emperor. Chu Hen's eyes were cold. Countless purple, spiraling light pillars pierced through the earth like tornadoes. Then Chu Hen stretched out a single palm toward the other party. A circle of faint air ripples appeared in the air. The mysterious man in black didn't slow down at all. Just as the two were about to collide, the man in black left an afterimage in the void with a swoosh. So fast, it was like teleportation in space. In a flash, Chu Hen leaped into the air without hesitation. In the next instant, when Chu Hen leapt into the air, the power that originated from the black-clothed person's palm blade was directly released onto the ground. Along with the countless gravel on both sides, a huge ravine rapidly opened up like a river. Hiss, a casual attack was already so terrifying. Which great emperor was it? Who was that? He was also wearing a dark-style mask, hiding his true appearance. The space where the other party was seemed to be distorted strangely. The second masked man in black leaped through space to the sky behind Chu Hen. His movement technique was so strange that it made people tremble. Rao Feilwan and the other man's faces were pale. The incomparably domineering holy demon flame of desolation spread in all directions. Roar! The two lightning beasts pounced towards the two mysterious black-clothed men one after the other. He did not have any thoughts at all. If there was only one great emperor, Chu Hen might be able to give a try. However, there were two of them. No matter how strong Chu Hen was, he would die here, especially when he didn't know what was going on. Bang! Chi waves filled the sky, and purple flames filled the air. Damn it! Chu Hen cursed inwardly. "No, you go alone," Rao Feilwan said decisively. After saying that, purple pillars of light swirled around the two of them. Under the chaotic and domineering spiral pillars of light, two nirvana demon spirits that were like war gods appeared between heaven and earth. Bang, bang. This kind of power was truly formidable. After that, the remaining force that surged down once again vented onto their bodies, causing them to be blasted a few thousand meters away once more before smashing heavily on the ground, and they spat out mouthfuls of blood without end. Both of their faces were covered. The incomparably gorgeous light swirled around Chu Hen's body. In the nine heavens, the wind and clouds were raging. A huge nirvana demon spirit that was as huge as a mountain suddenly appeared in the void. The wings behind it spread open, stirring up a strong wind. Zing! The right hand of the nirvana demon spirit that Chu Hen had transformed into burst out a dazzling phantom flowing light. Chapter 1687. It's the demon Eye Emperor's life killing divine halberd. A slightly surprised voice came from the mouth of one of the black-robed men with the ghost mask. A gale filled the air, and light pierced the sky. The nirvana demon spirit that Chu Hen transformed into was like a shocking war god that came from the ancient times. He held the life-slaughtering halberd in his hand, and both of his arms exploded with the peerless divine might of holding the stars, especially those purple pupils that had 9 black dots floating in them, as if they contained the rotation of the stars. No wonder you killed the Thunder Emperor. It seems like you have inherited the Demon Eye Emperor's teachings. The masked man in black said indifferently. His words were filled with cold, murderous intent. Li Wuxiang and Rao Failwan, who were already seriously injured, were anxious. Chu Hen, don't worry about us. Leave quickly. If you want to leave now, I'm afraid it's too late. Another demon-masked, black-clothed person replied with slight ridicule and disdain. The instant he finished speaking, he leapt into the sky. Accompanied by a majestic force that was like a mountain, the wind was urgent, the clouds were angry, and the thunder pierced the ears. That person slapped the air towards the nirvana demon spirit that Chu Hen had transformed into. Buzz, along with the extremely distorted space, an incomparably huge, oval-shaped energy body suddenly appeared between heaven and earth. A terrifying rhythm that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas filled the sky. The moment the storm stacked up, many buildings below were shattered by the invisible momentum. The black, oval-shaped energy body was like a sunspot formed by a solar storm. It swallowed the sky and the earth, and it pressed towards the nirvana demon spirit that Chu Hen had transformed into. An extremely terrifying attack, but he couldn't determine the opponent's attack. It was as if he was deliberately hiding his identity. Mysterious and powerful, feeling the black, oval-shaped energy body that was like a solar storm pressing down, Chu Hen's purple eyes let out a sharp whistle. Then, the life-killing divine halberd in his hand suddenly burst out with a peerless brilliance that could cut the galaxy. Countless bolts of lightning flowed around the body of the halberd like a giant dragon. The nirvana demon spirit held endless heavenly divine power in his arms, raised the life-killing divine halberd, and slashed towards the black, oval-shaped energy body that was pressing down. Bang! The two intersected, and suddenly the space collapsed. The purple light illuminating heavenly ray was like a supreme divine weapon that could split the heavens and split the earth, and it slashed the black oval halo. In an instant, a raging storm that resembled the explosion of a star exploded in all directions above Ember City. The mighty aftershock crushed everything in its surroundings. Countless buildings, big and small, were turned into dust by the terrifying impact. The ground behind Chu Hen, where Li Wuxiang and Rao Failwan were, cracked continuously. If it weren't for Chu Hen blocking in front of them, the two of them would have vomited blood again. However, in the next moment, an extremely dangerous aura came from the other side of Chu Hen. Damn it! Chu Hen was startled. There were two of them. You want to fight one against two? How naive and pitiful. Boom. As the other voice entered his ears, an incomparably large ravine suddenly split open beneath the nirvana demon spirit that Chu Hen had transformed into. The dark aura that originated from the endless abyss surged up violently. The demon spirit of destruction immediately floated into the air. Before Chu Hen could come up with any countermeasures, countless dark, ghostly hands reached out from the abyss below. Thousands of nether ghost hands quickly climbed up the lower half of the nirvana demon spirit's body. From afar, it looked like a bone-piercing poison. Very quickly, the nirvana demon spirit's legs and the area below its abdomen were covered in ghost hands. An incomparably huge pulling force directly choked the energy flowing within the nirvana demon spirit. Chu Hen suddenly felt his body sinking uncontrollably. Then, with a thud, he was heavily dragged into the abyss. In a hurry, Chu Hen fiercely stabbed the life-killing halberd into the stone wall beside him. The peerlessly sharp life-killing halberd was like an extremely sharp iron nail deeply nailed into the wall. The nirvana demon spirit's arms tightly gripped the life-killing halberd to stop its descent. Rumble, however, in the next moment, the demon-masked man in black let out a light sneer. "Apart from ignorance, you know nothing, Seal." With a low shout, the man in black put his palms together. The moment his palms intersected, a vast and powerful wave of chi stacked up. In an instant, the huge abyss that had split open actually quickly closed up again. The nirvanic demon spirit that Chu Hen had transformed into was directly stuck in the center of the abyss. "Not good," Li Wuxiang and Rao Failwan shouted. At this moment, the nirvanic demon spirit's huge body was actually a bit of a burden. "Rise!" The nirvanic demon spirit let out a low roar, its arms forcefully pushing against the rapidly closing walls of the abyss. At the same time, a dense and overbearing black flame began to rise from its body. The heaven and earth trembled. The earth cracked everywhere. Countless huge cracks extended outwards like a dried-up riverbed. However, this time, Chu Hen was facing two emperors, two terrifying existences of the great emperor level. Moreover, the strength of any one of them was far from what the Thunder Emperor could compare to, especially in a situation where he didn't know the other party's background and didn't have any information. Chu Hen didn't have any advantage at all. "You want to use the power of chaos? I'm afraid you won't have the chance." The mysterious man in black who held the sealing power once again released an extremely powerful and terrifying rhythm. His 10 fingers continuously changed into all kinds of complicated hand signs. Which god seal? Crack. In an instant, like a large spider web, the black, ancient, mysterious runes were like strange chains that extended in all directions. In an instant, it completely sealed off the area where Chu Hen was. The nirvanic demon spirit that Chu Hen had transformed into was like an insect trapped in a huge black spider web. An endless pressure surged into its body like an electric current. Chu Hen was shocked. He immediately felt that the overflowing power in his body was rapidly being suppressed. Then, the demon-masked man in black pressed down with 5 fingers. Seal. Whoosh. A piercingly cold cyclone suddenly spread between heaven and earth. Accompanied by a vast circle of light patterns, the ancient mysterious runes that covered the ground converged towards the nirvanic demon spirit in the center. Then, the nirvanic demon spirit that Chu Hen had transformed into was engraved with strange black mysterious runes. Looking from afar, it looked like its entire body was engraved with many strange mysterious runes. At this moment, Chu Hen's aura was directly crushed to the bottom. He was like an unparalleled giant that was suppressed by multiple seals. Although his power was monstrous, he couldn't release it. He was too careless. He underestimated the enemy too much. Chu Hen was secretly anxious in his heart. That pair of pupils that were swaying with a gorgeous purple light flickered with a gloomy cold light. However, at the same time that Chu Hen was imprisoned, the other mysterious black-clothed man who had launched an attack earlier quietly condensed in even more astonishing power that covered the sky. "Your appearance can be considered as a pleasant surprise. I'll accept this surprise," Duan Ling Tian said with a smile. The mysterious man in black who was in front of him set off a tsunami pressure. He extended his palm towards Chu Hen. It was still the purest, most direct, and fiercest palm energy. Buzz, along with the rapidly collapsing space and the sunken ground, a golden palm slowly pressed down on Chu Hen like the hand of a Buddha. This palm seemed slow and steady, but in reality, it wasn't so. This was because as it moved, the area of the golden palm rapidly expanded. One could even clearly see the palm lines that kept extending and branching. The area where Chu Hen was immediately turned into a destructive area where storms gathered. Li Wuxiang and Rao Failwan turned pale with fright. Their faces were pale without a trace of blood. Danger was approaching. Suddenly, at this critical moment, a black giant's arm abruptly thrust out a fiend god's heavy fist, which solidly collided with the descending golden palm print. Bang! Boom! The Milky Way exploded, and the sky was about to split. A violent power that resembled the collision of stars instantly rose up inside and outside the city. A powerful golden halo mixed with a domineering and piercingly cold black light pillar raged. In an instant, the entire sky collapsed. Li Wuxiang and Rao Failwan's expressions changed again and again. In front of Chu Hen, there was a gigantic black figure of a demonic god blocking his way. It was the power of the chaotic body. However, what was even more shocking was that the source of this power didn't come from Chu Hen. Another primal chaos bloodline has actually come. The mysterious black-clothed person in front of Chu Hen let out a low and deep voice of surprise from behind the mask. Chapter 1688. Boom! The intense clash of power caused the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. Chaotic shockwaves swept out in all directions. Within the chaotic storm of power, a black figure that resembled a demon god blocked the destructive golden palm attack. The entire Bai city was shaking violently both inside and outside. This is Li Wuxiang and Rao Failwan's eyes widened in shock. The power of the chaotic body. Moreover, even Chu Hen, who was imprisoned in the deep ravine by the powerful sealing technique, was somewhat shocked. There was still astonishment within his pair of purple eyes. Another chaotic bloodline has come. One of the masked men said in confusion. Then the gaze behind the mask froze slightly, and he looked to the side in the sky. Even Chu Hen, Li Wuxiang, and Rao Failwan saw a few figures with extraordinary presences appear in the sky. The person in the lead was a man who seemed to be in his 30s. He had a dignified appearance, and his face was filled with heroism. Furthermore, there were extremely powerful energy fluctuations and restless black flames surging around his body. It was clear that he was the one who had attacked. What caused people to be astonished was that there was a rather familiar figure behind the man. It was the mysterious woman who had attacked Chu Hen in Kuan City. The chaotic bloodline really does have a remnant race. Li Wuxiang and Rao Failwan looked at each other. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. Although the expressions on the faces of the two mysterious masked men in black could not be seen, it was not hard to imagine that their emotions would more or less fluctuate. "Who are you?" one of the masked men called out. The man in the lead looked up and said indifferently, "Chaotic bloodline, Yin Fushu, chaotic bloodline." The four words exploded in the sky above Kuan City like a thunderclap. As for the name Yin Fushu, it was like a formless gust of wind that swept through the area. Yin Fushu, Li Wuxiang clenched his fists in disbelief. On the other side, Rao Failwan was shocked as well. He's still alive. Yin Fushu. The world was no stranger to this name. During the years when the Chaos race continued to decline, there were also a few outstanding figures who appeared in the Chaos race. Although the number was very small, but it's not that there are none. Back then, apart from Chu Lentian, there was also a monstrously talented prodigy in the Chaos tribe. That person was none other than Yin Fushu. Back then, he and Chu Lentian were known as the twin stars of the Primal Chaos race. It was also because of Yin Fushu's assistance that Chu Rantian was able to gradually stabilize the Primal Chaos race's decline to rock bottom. The battle that year, the Primal Chaos race suffered a great calamity. Chu Rantian and Li Jixia had both gone missing. Yin Fushu was nowhere to be found. The people of the world knew that Yin Fushu had perished in that battle, but no one had expected that he would actually appear here after so many years. Especially when the Burning Sky Saint clan had encountered an unknown disaster and was in such a complicated situation, it was even more surprising. Boom! At the same time, the ground where Chu Hen stood cracked inch by inch. The huge ravine that was like an abyssal crack once again burst open from within. Chu Hen's entire body erupted with a black brilliance that overflowed the heavens. Then, he forcibly broke through the seal on the surface of the ground and tore apart the mysterious ancient incantation runes that imprisoned his body. Then boundless power spread out in all directions. The nirvanic demon spirit that Chu Hen had transformed into once more gripped the halberd and leapt into the air. The violent shock waves spread out in all directions with a crushing force. The two mysterious masked men in black instinctively retreated backward. Li Wuxiang and Rao Feilwan were delighted. Yin Fushu of the primal chaos race raised an eyebrow, a hint of surprise in his eyes. At the same time, the two masked men in black glanced at each other. "What do you think?" one of them asked. "Humph." The other snickered darkly. "Get rid of them." "That's exactly what I intend to do." As soon as the words left their mouths, a terrifying aura erupted from their bodies, covering the sky and covering the earth. The entire sky above Dust City was locked down by a dark gray storm. Remnants of the primal chaos race. "Isn't it good to live underground like ants?" One of the men in black charged at Yin Fushu and the others with an earth-shattering momentum. The latter's gaze turned cold, and a hint of coldness surged out of his forehead. However, a wisp of faint ridicule appeared on the corners of Yin Fushu's mouth when facing the storm of rage that was constantly approaching him. "After hiding for so many years, I've been waiting for this day. Since you're seeking death, I'll fulfill your wish." With that, the man in black raised his palm, and a skyscraping hand tore through the gray storm in the sky. The world-destroying power that blotted out the heavens and covered the earth caused the surrounding space to fluctuate rhythmically and restlessly. Apart from Yin Fushu, the other primal chaos race members behind him all wore grim expressions. "Although I don't know why you're here, you can disappear now," the mysterious man in black rebuked coldly. The other mysterious man in black swept up a powerful aura and charged at Chuhen again. Rumble. It was also at this moment that the sky above the city was suddenly illuminated by a dazzling starlight. Star Punishment Heart Slaying Blade. The majestic and domineering aura shook the sky, causing everyone's pupils to constrict to the extreme. Countless dazzling silver chains of light intersected, and a sky-splitting sword that seemed to be refined with the radiance of a myriad of stars descended from the sky, without any warning, heading straight for the mysterious man in black who was attacking Yin Fushu. The power of stars? The man in black was alarmed. In his haste, he hurriedly changed his attack towards Yin Fushu and swung his hand to meet the starry sword that was descending from the sky. Hiss! When the two terrifying powers intersected, it was as if the stars in the sky had exploded. The silver blade containing boundless killing power seemed to be surrounded by thousands of dazzling shadow patterns. As the space continuously shattered, the starry blade directly pierced through the mysterious man in black's sky-covering palm, then solidly attacked the sky in front of him. Bang! The void caved in and shook. The shockwaves of power that could topple mountains and overturn seas filled the sky. The huge impact sent the mysterious man in black flying. In the process of retreating, the ghost mask on the mysterious black-clothed man's face cracked into pieces with a paw sound. Then, a domineering middle-aged face was exposed in the air. "It's him!" Li Wuxiang and Rao Feilwan simultaneously sucked in a breath of cold air. Both of their eyes were filled with deep astonishment. Even though he was caught off guard, there wasn't the slightest hint of panic on his face. His ice-cold eyes stared coldly at the sky where the starlight gathered. Chunbei, Chunbei, the name of the Star Emperor. Other than the Star Emperor of the 10 Emperors, there was no one else who could possess such a powerful bloodline with the power of the stars. Amidst the dazzling starlight, a handsome middle-aged man in luxurious clothes appeared. "Why did you do this?" "Primeval. Emperor?" "Primeval Emperor." The Great Star Emperor, Chunbei, spat out these words coldly. It was both a question and a reprimand. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion reverberated in the city. On the other side, the mysterious man in black with the ghost mask took a direct hit from Chu Hen, who had transformed into a nirvana demon spirit. Accompanied by the crisscrossing purple light pillars and golden halos, Chu Hen's life, slaughtering divine halberd, was like a sky-piercing lightning pillar, bursting with billions of lightning arcs. At this moment, a gray halo suddenly whizzed down from above their heads. The world immediately turned dark. The air flowing in all directions suddenly took on a turbid brown color. Everything in the world seemed to instantly lose its original color. Wherever the gray halo went, the vegetation withered. The buildings in the city seemed to be dyed with a layer of wind and frost. Power of desolation. The man in black with the ghost mask who attacked Chu Hen was obviously shocked. The extremely overbearing power of desolation was like a plague poison source that invaded his body, weakening the aura he emitted. Buzz, buzz. Before the black-clothed man could come up with a countermeasure, a black vortex suddenly appeared in the space around him. The black vortex instantly trapped the man in it like a black vortex. Following that, countless ferocious monster mouths appeared in the black vortex. They opened their mouths, as if thousands of ghosts were biting at the man. Power of devouring, Rao Failwan, who was outside the battle, exclaimed. With such a shocking power of desolation and power of devouring, it was obvious that the Desolation Emperor and the Devouring Emperor were here. Chapter 1689. It's the power of desolates and devouring power. Li Wushang, Rao Fawan, and the rest were shocked as they looked at the dusky brown space that had instantly turned into a barren land, as well as the powerful devouring whirlpool that enveloped the other ghost masked man in black. Without a doubt, only the Desolate Emperor and the Devouring Great Emperor possessed such a terrifying aura. And the ghost masked man in black was directly sealed in the black whirlpool. Within the whirlpool, countless ferocious monsters opened their mouths in unison, as if they were a group of beasts that wanted to bite their prey. With the addition of the two strongest powers, the power of desolates and devouring power, its destructive power was imaginable. In the dusky brown space, the black whirlpool instantly submerged the ghost masked man in black. However, in the next second, a dragon's cry pierced through the firmament, shaking the world. In an instant, a huge and sharp dragon claw suddenly tore apart the black devouring vortex, which was stirring the world, and directly penetrated it. That's Li Wushang and Rao Failwan's expressions changed again and again when they saw the sharp claw piercing through the whirlpool. Chu Hen, who had transformed into the Nirvana demon spirit, faintly narrowed his eyes, as if it was unexpected, as if it was reasonable. Then, along with a deafening roar, a berserk dragon aura surged out like a tsunami. Bang! The sky trembled as the wind and clouds raged. An earth-shattering shockwave spread out from the center of the devouring whirlpool. Following the collapse of the space, a powerful black halo swept across the sky above the city. And in the midst of the piercingly cold storm, a ferocious dragon silhouette that looked like an ancient giant appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Dark golden pupils, sharp claws that looked like pincers, a pair of huge dragon wings that looked like huge maple leaves. There were sharp bone spikes all over its neck. All the power of desolates and devouring power that came into contact with it were shattered. It really is him. Rao Failwan was surprised and puzzled. She clenched her fists and said in a heavy voice, Dragon Blood, Emperor, the Dragon Blood Emperor, who had removed his disguise, soared into the sky. His metallic pupils were still cold and gloomy. Then, on both sides of the sky in front of him, two middle-aged figures with extraordinary appearances appeared in the turbulent cyclones. Both of them were dressed in luxurious imperial robes and had their hair tied up like jade. The domineering aura of a king that looked down on the world was evident between his brows. The two of them were not strangers. They were the Desolation Emperor and the Devouring Emperor. Wah! The especially powerful, surging rhythm made everyone feel uneasy. In regions by city, the five great emperors had actually gathered together under such circumstances, and there were also members of the chaotic clan who had disappeared for many years. Why are you doing this? The Great Star Emperor repeated his question again. He stared coldly at the Chaos Emperor and the Dragon Blood Emperor. The Desolation Emperor and the Devouring Great Emperor's faces were filled with solemnity and coldness. I've been discovered. After a brief moment of surprise, the Antiquity Great Emperor did not panic. He glanced at the Great Star Emperor and the others. Although it's not perfect, it's not a big problem. Just like what we said at the Sacred Clan Conference, we will meet again very soon. The great emperor's faces changed. The Desolation Emperor clenched his fists and shouted in a deep voice, "What did you do to the Burning Heaven Emperor?" Guess. The Antiquity Great Emperor raised his eyebrows and smiled playfully. "Bastard, if you don't give us a reasonable explanation today, I will not let you off." With that, the Desolation Emperor raised his hands, and a vast power of desolation spread out like a cloud of dust. In an instant, the sky above the Bi-City was like a yellow sandstorm, and the overflowing spiritual energy seemed to be directly plundered. The Great Star Emperor and the Devouring Great Emperor's bodies also emitted powerful energy waves. However, the Antiquity Great Emperor still did not have much change in his emotions. He glanced at Chu Hen and Yin Fushu with a frivolous gaze. "Things seem to be a little more interesting than I thought." Then, the Antiquity Great Emperor raised his palm and clenched his fist in the air. Rumble! With a deafening explosion, the void behind the prehistoric Heavenly Emperor directly burst open, and a spatial gap appeared in the sky like a planar passageway. "Farewell!" The Antiquity Great Emperor smiled at the Great Star Emperor and the others with a playful expression. Then, as if he had merged into the storm, he lay back into the space gap behind him. Bang! At the same time, the space around the Dragon Blood Emperor also shattered. A piercingly cold whirlwind rose like demonic fog, enveloping him within. "Oomph! Don't worry, it'll be your turn soon. Stop. Don't you dare leave." The Desolation Emperor and the Great Star Emperor wanted to stop the two. However, as the strongest Sacred Clan Great Emperors of the same level, their strength and cultivation were at the peak of this world. If the Antiquity Great Emperor and the Dragon Blood Emperor wanted to leave, no one could stop them. Buzz! Wah! Violent energy stacked up in the sky above the city. The Primordial Emperor and the Dragon Blood Emperor both disappeared into the forcefully opened spatial passageway. Before the Great Star Emperor and the Desolation Emperor could stop them, a strong shock wave was set off in the space gap. The two's expressions changed slightly, and they took a few steps back as they were caught off guard. In just a blink of an eye, the space gap that the Antiquity Great Emperor and the Dragon Blood Emperor had left had closed up. Bastard! The Desolation Emperor's face was cold, and he was furious. The Great Star Emperor shook his head helplessly. Even though they had the three strongest Sacred Clan Great Emperors on their side, as well as Chu Hen, Yin Fushu, and a few other experts, they could do nothing as the Antiquity Great Emperor and the Dragon Blood Emperor wanted to leave immediately. Silence. Silence. At a glance, the inside and outside of the city were littered with corpses. The Great Emperors of the Star Emperor, the Desolation Emperor, and the Devouring Emperor were silent, and there was only an indescribable complexity on their faces. It was too sudden, too unexpected. The encounter of the Sky-Burning Saint Clan left everyone in a daze. But why would the Antiquity Great Emperor and the Dragon Blood Emperor attack the Sky-Burning Saint Clan? It was a big question. Then, the Great Star Emperor's eyes turned to Yin Fushu of the Chaotic Clan. "We need a reasonable explanation." The Desolation Emperor and the Devouring Emperor also looked at the Chaotic Clan with deep meaning. At the same time, the Destruction Demon Spirit that Chu Hen had transformed into also disappeared in a dazzling purple brilliance. For example, the purple sun dimmed, and the Destruction Demon Spirit disappeared under the rapid airflow. Chu Hen stood in the air, and his demonic purple eyes stared at Yin Fushu and the three great emperors with a complicated expression. It wasn't hard to guess. Since everyone was gathered here today, it was obviously related to the Chaotic Clan. Otherwise, the Great Star Emperor wouldn't have asked for an explanation from Yin Fushu. Yin Fushu smiled. "Will you believe what I say?" "Believe?" The Great Star Emperor, the Devouring Emperor, and the Desolation Emperor frowned. The Chaotic Clan had been extinct for many years. Yin Fushu was someone who had disappeared for a long time. Now, the situation was in front of everyone again. Who was the enemy? Who was the friend? They didn't think that the Antiquity Great Emperor and the Dragon Blood Emperor would suddenly attack the Sky-Burning Saint Clan. Many doubts, It was as if the world was covered by a veil. Let's find the sky-burning emperor first. The devouring emperor suddenly said. Oh, everyone's eyelids twitched. The sky-burning emperor is still alive. Li Wuxiang asked subconsciously. Shu Hen's eyes also flashed with doubt. At a glance, the entire city was covered in blood. There was no sign of life at all. It was hard to imagine that the sky-burning emperor was still alive. The Great Star Emperor and the Desolation Emperor were relatively calm about the devouring emperor's suggestion. With the personality and style of Sun He and Long Ling, definitely wouldn't wait for us. The Great Star Emperor said coldly. Sun He, Long Ling, the Antiquity, Great Emperor, and the Dragon Blood Emperor's names. The Desolation Emperor narrowed his eyes. The reason why they haven't left is because they haven't finished dealing with the matters here. Why? The three great emperors' eyes met, and they couldn't help but understand. The sky-burning emperor might not be dead. It was even possible that he was still here. Chapter 1690. The burning heaven emperor might not be dead yet. It was even highly possible that he was still here. This was the deduction of the Star Emperor, the Desolation Emperor, and the Devouring Emperor. The 10 great emperors were familiar with each other. They had a good understanding of each other's personalities and ways of doing things. With the Chaos Emperor and the Dragonblood Emperor's methods, by the time they found this place, it would have been empty. Not to mention that Chu Hen and the others would have bumped into them. Looking at the conversation between the 3 great emperors, Yin Fushu of the Chaotic Clan didn't say much. On the other hand, Chu Hen looked over with a complicated gaze. Yin Fushu saw unconcealable confusion and anticipation in Chu Hen's eyes. In Chu Hen's heart, there seemed to be countless questions he wanted to ask Yin Fushu, even though it was the first time they met. However, at this moment, it did not seem to be a good time to talk, even though they were all from the Chaotic Clan. However, to Chu Hen, the people in front of him were strangers, so unfamiliar that he didn't even know how to start the conversation. At the same time, the Star Emperor, the Devouring Emperor, and the Desolation Emperor suddenly moved. They flew towards 3 different locations in the center of the city. The 3 great emperors were like the apex of a triangle. Following that, the 3 of them unleashed an extremely powerful rhythm of energy. With a low roar, the 3 great emperors pushed out a surging palm aura at the same time. A beam of starlight, a beam of black light, and a beam of dusky brown light converged in the center from 3 different directions. Then, the 3 majestic light beams fused together and formed an incomparably mottled and violent energy body. Hum. The mottled energy body was like a celestial body that was gradually being formed. As the energy body rapidly expanded to a diameter of 1,000 zhong, illusory rings of light swept out in all directions. The rings of light spread out vertically, horizontally, and diagonally, one ring after another. They spread out in the void, pierced through the heavens, penetrated the earth, and quickly covered the entire city. Great soul-searching art? Heavenly Wolf Star Guard Rao Felwan said solemnly. Li Wuxiang nodded slightly. The great soul-searching tactic cast by the 3 great emperors revealed all the blind spots in the flame region. However, the people who were enveloped by the illusory halo didn't feel anything strange. He didn't even feel anything. Just as Chu Hen and the others were perplexed, the corners of the 3 great emperors' eyes lifted after a mere 10 seconds or so. Then, their gazes turned to the bottom of the city in unison. The 3 of them simultaneously sent out a fierce palm strike. Hua! In an instant, countless rays of light in the shape of a net spread out toward the city below. Buzz, buzz. The mottled energy body floating in the sky above the city suddenly released an extremely uneasy energy vibration. It was like a ball of lightning. With a deafening explosion, a destructive beam of light struck down from the energy body like a bolt of lightning, slamming heavily into the square at the center of the city. Boom! Rumble! The enormous impact was like a divine blade that could split mountains and rivers, landing solidly on the surface of the square. In the next moment, under the solemn gazes of Chu Hen, Li Wuxiang, Yin Fushu, and the others, the ground of the city split open. Deep cracks quickly spread to the north and south. In front of the three great emperors, the majestic city was like an enormous cake that could be cut at will. The cracks in the ground extended for thousands of meters. As the ground split apart, an abyss giving off an endless dark presence appeared in the city. Chu Hen, Yin Fushu, and the others all revealed expressions of shock. As they marveled at the powerful perception of the three great emperors, they were also shocked by the dark abyss below. He looked down from a high vantage point. At the center of the abyss was a blue hole hundreds of meters wide. Faint blue light flickered and surged inside, and mysterious talismans could be faintly seen moving about. "It's the sealed abyss," someone from the Chaos clan exclaimed. As expected, without much time to think, the three great emperors Xing Chun, De Huang, and Devour immediately moved. They turned into streaks of light and entered the blue hole in the abyss. Chu Hen turned around to look at Yin Fushu and the others of the Primal Chaos clan. The latter didn't hesitate and immediately followed the footsteps of the three great emperors. Chu Hen hesitated for a moment, then flashed in with Li Wushang and Rao Failwan. The enormous abyss crack was like a majestic ravine that ran from north to south, splitting the city in two. The blue hole in the abyss was like the eye of a demon lurking at the bottom of the earth, terrifying to the extreme. As soon as Chu Hen stepped into the blue hole, he immediately felt a powerful pressure surging up from below. There seemed to be a powerful magnetic repulsive force at the bottom, trying to pull people out. Of course, with Chu Hen's current level of cultivation, he could still withstand a repulsive force. Li Wushang and Rao Failwan, on the other hand, looked a little pale. Especially with their injuries, they couldn't hold on for long. Just as Chu Hen was about to open his mouth to order the two of them to return to the surface and wait, a muffled explosion suddenly came from below. Bang! The vast abyss shook violently, and thousands of rays of blue light spread out from the bottom. As if some sort of restriction had been broken, the magnetic repulsive force they'd been under was swept away. Chu Hen's eyes lit up. "Looks like we found it." With that, the three of them sped up again. The enormous blue hole felt like a tunnel leading to another world. After descending for several thousand meters, the terrain at the bottom took on the shape of a gourd. The surrounding walls were covered in sharp thorns and barbs. Furthermore, there was a stone platform hovering even further below. The stone platform was clearly layered. There were steps and stone railings around it. Huge chains were connected to the surrounding stone pillars and railings, giving off a gloomy and sealed feeling like an underground heavenly prison. At this moment, Star Emperor, Devouring Emperor, Desolation Emperor, and Yin Fushu landed on the stone platform one after another. Chu Hen and the other two hurriedly sped up and landed one after another. Everyone was silent. The three great emperors in the lead stared at the front of the stone platform with a solemn gaze. Their dozens of figures sat cross-legged in the center of the stone platform that was sealed by chains. They were like statues, not moving. Even his aura was completely gone. They looked no different from dead people. "This is—" Rao Failwan clenched her fists. Chu Hen couldn't help but squint his eyes. The leader of the dozens of people on the platform had crimson hair and eyebrows. He had handsome facial features, but there was no lack of domineeringness between his brows. He was one of the 10 great emperors, Sky-Scorching Emperor. At this moment, Sky-Scorching Emperor's eyes were tightly shut, and there was no sign of life on him. His icy cold aura didn't seem like a living person at all. Chu Hen even saw the silhouette of Yin Hanyu amongst the crowd on the stage. Compared to his radiance during the Sacred Race Convention, the current Yin Hanyu was as cold as a statue. "Are they dead?" Someone from the Chaotic clan asked. "If they were dead, they wouldn't be hidden here. But there's no sign of life at all. They're probably sealed." Sealed? It wasn't hard to guess. However, the three great emperors didn't have any intention of unsealing Sky-Scorching Emperor and the others. Instead, they stood there cautiously. "Can you feel it?" Star Emperor was the first to speak. His voice was deep. "Yes, it's that power. Devouring Emperor squinted his eyes, his expression complicated. That power? Which power? The people behind looked at each other. Huang Emperor clenched his fists and said, "Seamless seal. This is Emperor Bai's sealing technique." Chapter 1691. The Seamless Seal. This is Emperor Bai's sealing technique. Emperor Bai? The instant these two words were uttered from the desolate emperor's mouth, Chu Hen's heart violently tightened. Not far away, Yin Fushu and the others from the chaotic race revealed looks of astonishment. The members of the primal chaos clan looked at each other and saw the doubt in each other's eyes. Emperor Bai? How? It shouldn't be. The Star Emperor, the Desolation Emperor, and the Devouring Emperor turned to look at Yin Fushu. The latter furrowed his brows and looked puzzled. Even Yin Fushu, who had some inside information, couldn't understand it. "Looks like you can't explain it either," the Star Emperor said in a low voice. Yin Fushu didn't speak. The members of the Chaos Clan also wore solemn expressions. After a long while, Yin Fushu shook his head. "I don't know either. Apart from Emperor Bai, who else knows about the Seamless Seal?" Chu Hen couldn't help but ask. "No one," the Desolation Emperor replied. "Not necessarily." The Devouring Emperor gave a different answer. "Apart from Emperor Bai, there's another 9-star Divine Eyes. There's another 9-star Divine Eyes." In an instant, everyone's minds simultaneously thought of the peerlessly beautiful figure that had shone brilliantly during the Sacred Race Convention. Chu Hen clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms. Was today's matter related to the Holy Eye Saint clan? Then, everyone fell into a state of silence. Seamless Seal. If there was another person apart from Emperor Bai who could use this sealing technique, it would be Emperor Bai's daughter, Bai Qinyu. Could it be that Bai Qinyu was also involved in this operation? But the Sky Burning Clan and the Holy Eye Saint clan had always been on good terms. That's strange. If it's the Holy Eye Saint clan, I really can't think of a reason why they would attack the Sky Burning clan. The Desolation Emperor said in disbelief. What about the Chaos clan and the Dragon Blood clan? Can you guess why they would be so ruthless? The Devouring Emperor asked. The Desolation Emperor was speechless. Indeed, if the Holy-Eyed Sacred Race had no reason to attack the Sky-Burning Sacred Race, then why did the Wilderness Sacred Race and the Dragon Blood Sacred Race do so? Whose interests did the existence of the Sky-Burning Saint clan offend? Perhaps? Was this just the beginning? At that moment, the three great emperors looked at each other with suspicion in the depths of their eyes. The people around him, were they friend or foe? Why didn't you release the Burning Heaven Monarch's seal? As soon as he wakes up, he'll know what happened, Chu Hen said. However, everyone's brows furrowed even deeper. Li Wuxiang stepped forward and said to Chu Hen, "The White Emperor's seamless seal is the most complicated and brilliant seal in the world. It seals the saint's soul within the Purple Palace. If you forcefully break the seal without knowing how to break it, the power of the seal within the Purple Palace will directly attack the saint's soul. If you're the slightest bit careless, the saint's soul of the Burning Heaven Emperor will be heavily injured or even destroyed." So powerful? Chu Hen was shocked. That's right. Li Wuxiang nodded with certainty. It said that the seamless seal was created by Emperor Bai after countless experiments over a long period of time. It might not be the strongest, but it's definitely the most complicated. Even an expert of the same level would be helpless against it. What Li Wuxiang said wasn't alarmist. It could be seen from the solemn expressions of the Star Emperor, the Desolation Emperor, and the Devouring Emperor. Otherwise, they would have released the seal for the Burning Heaven Monarch long ago. Then, their gazes fell on Yin Fushu again. The three great emperors' gazes became especially sharp. Yin Fushu nodded slightly when he saw the deep meaning in their eyes. Perhaps you'll have to wait for another person. Wait for another person? Who? The Star Emperor asked sternly. Suddenly, at this moment, a cold but extremely arrogant female voice suddenly came from the area above everyone. Who's that voice? The Star Emperor, the Desolation Emperor, and the Devouring Emperor were shocked. At the same time, Chu Hen lifted his eyes and felt a familiar aura. Meng Shang is here. Then, In the darkness above the blue hole abyss, a few graceful figures flashed. Lu Tingyu, Gu Yu, and Luo Mengshang from the Abyss Saint tribe were there. Mengshang. Chu Hen's eyes lit up. Luo Mengshang also saw Chu Hen, who was on the stone platform below, with a single glance. Immediately, her figure moved, and she rushed down first. Chu Hen didn't say anything and quickly went forward. The two of them held hands and looked at each other. There seemed to be stars twinkling in their eyes. Luo Mengshang was wearing a long dress and a white robe. The robe wrapped around her body. Under the loose outfit, it couldn't hide her innate noble temperament. "Why are you here?" Chu Hen asked. Luo Mengshang smiled faintly and held Chu Hen's hand. "I'm bringing you to see someone, huh?" Chu Hen was stunned. At the same time, the other people from the Abyss Saint tribe landed on the stone platform. At that moment, everyone, including the three great emperors, fixed their gazes on the person in the lead. Elegant, and beautiful. It was a beautiful woman who looked to be in her 30s, even though she was a woman. However, her body gave out an aura that wasn't any weaker than the three great emperors. Peerless beauty. It wasn't an exaggeration to describe her. "Mother, this is Chu Hen." Luo Mengshang brought Chu Hen to the beautiful woman. "Mother?" Chu Hen was stunned. He looked at Luo Mengshang in surprise. The latter raised her eyebrows and smiled. "This is my mother, Abyss Emperor." Li Wushang, who was not far behind, muttered softly. Abyss Emperor. She was the only empress among the 10 emperors. Chu Hen, who was stunned, didn't react. Abyss Emperor looked at Chu Hen with deep meaning. At such a close distance, Abyss Emperor's appearance was peerless. Time didn't seem to have left any trace on her face. Moreover, Abyss Emperor had a pair of bright and dignified peach blossom eyes. Junior Chu Hen greets Abyss Emperor. Chu Hen, who came back to his senses, cupped his fists and bowed politely. The 9th Underworld Emperor only looked at Chu Hen and replied indifferently. "You're more like your mother." Chu Hen was stunned. He couldn't help but realize that Abyss Emperor and his mother, Li Jixia, were close. However, because he and Luo Mengshang had decided to marry each other privately, and without the consent of the Abysmal Emperor and the many elders of the Abysmal Saint tribe, Chu Hen would more or less feel a little uncomfortable facing the Abysmal Emperor. Of course, the current occasion didn't seem to be suitable to talk about family matters. Abyss Emperor didn't say much and looked at the three great emperors. The trio's eyes were filled with emotions and deep meaning. "You're finally awake." Star Emperor was the first to speak. Devouring Emperor and Desolation Emperor nodded slightly, their brows furrowed. At the same time today, Primitive Sacred Tribe and Dragon Blood Sacred Tribe attacked Sky Burning Sacred Tribe. The chaotic tribe that had disappeared for many years reappeared. An Abyss Emperor, who had been in a deep sleep, also woke up. It was like a beginning. The Abyss Heavenly Emperor continued walking forward without saying a single word. Then, she walked past the three of them and walked towards the sealed people of Sky-Burning Sacred Tribe at the center of the stone platform. Everyone was stunned again. The three great emperors, Yin Fushu, Chu Hen, and the others were puzzled. Abyss Emperor walked to Sky-Burning Sacred Emperor and half-knelt on the ground. Then, she raised her hand, and a crystal-clear golden essence light floated in her palm. "What are you?" Desolation Emperor asked coldly. Even though they had doubts in their hearts, the three great emperors were extraordinarily calm and composed. Under everyone's gazes, the Abyss Emperor gently pressed the ball of essence in his palm into the Burning Heaven Emperor's forehead. Like a soft feather, it slowly drifted into the forehead of the sky-scorching Martial Emperor. Buzz! In an instant, complicated golden runes spread out from the center of the sky-scorching Emperor's brows. From his face to his neck, then to his limbs. It was like a mysterious optical fiber net. Light runes quickly spread all over Sky-Burning Sacred Emperor's body. Then, the essence light in between his eyebrows flowed along the optical fiber net to Sky-Burning Sacred Emperor's limbs and bones. In the end, it fused into his true origin Violet Palace. "Hua!" When the golden essence light reached the interior of sky-burning sacred emperor's true origin violet palace, a strong radiance bloomed from his body. Along with a strong wave of air, an invisible shock wave swept out, causing the surrounding space to distort. Under everyone's astonished gazes, the burning sky emperor's cold, statue-like body suddenly trembled. Then, sky-burning sacred emperor's eyes widened, spitting flames of anger. Bastard! Sky-burning sacred clan will never submit to you, Hua. Sky-burning sacred emperor spat out a mouthful of blood. Then his head tilted to one side, and he fell into a coma again. For a short moment, everyone was shocked, and confused. Even though the sky-scorching emperor had fallen into a coma, everyone could clearly sense the vigorous life, aura, and energy ripples from his body. It was completely different from his previous dead statue-like appearance. Meanwhile, Star Emperor, Desolation Emperor, and Devouring Great Emperor stared at Abyss Emperor in disbelief. No Emperor buys a Vici seal. Chapter 1692. Scoff, who knew that the last moment, the remnant of the chaotic race would spoil our plans. The darkness spread to every corner of the palace, like the claws of a nightmare covering everything. A dense fog rose up, forming an illusory and distorted illusion. The hall that gave off an ancient aura was like the deepest region of the darkness. In this way, we've given them time to react. In the dark and quiet hall, the low voices on the left and right clashed with each other, creating an indescribable overlapping echo. It's okay. This isn't considered a variable. An indifferent and calm voice spread down for the top of the hall. Not considered a variable. It was a very calm tone. It didn't cause any emotional changes at all. Why did you leave the burning sky emperor alive? If we directly get rid of him, things would be much simpler. The thick voice on the left asked. It's useful. 2 simple words, controlling the fate of the burning sky emperor. The 2 sides at the bottom of the hall were silent. Even they couldn't understand the other party's intentions. All right, there's something else I need to tell you. The Abyss Emperor has already awakened. Abyss Emperor. These 4 words were like a circle of invisible ripples that spread to every corner of the hall. I already know. The person above replied. I'm not surprised at all. Your identity and secrets will soon be revealed to the public. The person on the left chuckled with a hint of playfulness. However, the aura and rhythm of the person above didn't change at all. I'm looking forward to it. There's a secret that will make those who know fear. Accompanied by a voice that was as indifferent as water, the other party slowly opened his eyes in the darkness, and a holy golden light of an emperor quietly flickered. Cloud World, Baidi's city. The majestic Emperor City was built like a heavenly palace. Even though it was the home of an emperor, its grandeur was far from 1,000th of Baidi City. Everyone knew. Out of the 10 strongest saint races, Baidi City's architecture and environment were the most majestic. Among them, there were countless buildings of various sizes. The manor's waterside pavilions and the star-picking pavilions were like treasures in the world. Who dares to trespass on White Emperor City? At the base of a magnificent flight of steps, the guards of White Emperor City standing guard warily stared at the uninvited guests. However, when they saw who it was, their expressions changed from vigilance to shock, and then to disbelief. Star Emperor, Emperor Huang. At a glance, several emperors had arrived at White Emperor City at the same time. The guards were so nervous that they didn't even know who to call first. When they saw the elegant and graceful empress in front of the few people from Holy Abysmal Tribe, they were so shocked that they couldn't say a word. 9. Abyss Heavenly Emperor? My God, what happened? Hurry up and report. The sudden, unforeseen event had thrown the guards of White Emperor City into a panic. At this moment, a woman in plain clothes stood at the top of the stairs. Elder Qingyue, you see. When the panicked guards saw the woman in plain clothes, they instantly heaved a sigh of relief, as though ants in a panic had found their leader. Although the woman in plain clothes, who was called Qingyue, was surprised by the people who came, she seemed to be prepared. She didn't look at Star Emperor, Emperor Huang, Devouring Emperor, and the others. Instead, she looked at the only Empress, Abyss Heavenly Emperor, with a complicated expression. In Abyss Heavenly Emperor's eyes, there were faint ripples. One was one of the emperors of the strongest holy tribe. The other was an elder with a high status in White Emperor City. Although there was a big gap between their statuses, the two women seemed to only see each other at that moment. And there was a thought-provoking meaning. Abyss Heavenly Emperor said, "Where is she?" She? Elder Qing Wei was stunned, and a tinge of loneliness flashed in her eyes. But soon, she smiled in relief. "You're finally here." Abyss Heavenly Emperor clasped his hands together. On the side, Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang were confused. Who was Abyss Heavenly Emperor looking for? Bai Qinyu? Previously in the Flame region, Abyss Heavenly Emperor suddenly appeared and undid the seamless seal on Heaven Burning Emperor. However, she didn't immediately explain the confusion of everyone. Instead, she directly brought everyone to White Emperor City of the Cloud World. Yin Fushu of the Primal Chaos race was also present. Heaven Burning Emperor and the others who were unconscious were also brought out of the Flame region. Fish swam in the shallow waters of the pavilion. A gentle ray of sunlight shone into the pavilion. Bai Qinyu sat on the bench, leaning against the pillar, one hand on the railing. Her pair of alluring peach blossom eyes were really beautiful. "I feel like I'm the only one left in the world." Sighing, Bai Qinyu subconsciously closed her eyes. Her originally lonely thoughts seemed to have returned to the year when she was 5 years old. "Father, where are you going?" That year, Bai Qinyu, who was only 5 years old, stood on the steps of the palace and looked at the high-spirited and heroic White Emperor. "Father's going out. I'll be back soon." White Emperor smiled warmly. In front of the world, he was the god Emperor who stood at the peak. In front of Bai Qinyu, he was the warmest man in the world. "When is soon?" Bai Qinyu didn't let him off and asked. White Emperor lightly tapped Bai Qinyu's small and exquisite nose. "When the sun comes out, I will be back." "Really? Really? When have I ever lied to you?" "I know. I will wait for you to come back. In 2 days, I will be 5. Don't forget about the agreement between us." Bai Qinyu playfully blinked her eyes and said. White Emperor's eyes were filled with pity and gentleness. "I remember that agreement." Bai Qinyu waited for a full day and night on the steps outside the palace. Morning to evening, night to dawn, the warmest man, the man who never broke his promise for the first and last time, broke his promise. These words caused the entire god Saint race to enter an unprecedented panic. The huge White Emperor City of the Cloud World was immersed in endless sadness. Those few days, the entire world was gray. The 5-year-old Bai Qinyu didn't know what had happened. She only remembered the agreement with White Emperor. That really important agreement. "Father, where is my mother?" One day before that, Bai Qinyu opened her eyes wide and asked innocently. White Emperor kept silent for a moment and then asked solemnly, "Do you want to see her?" Bai Qinyu nodded without hesitation. "Okay, on your 5th birthday, I will bring you to find her. Why do you have to wait until I am 5? Isn't it better to go earlier?" White Emperor smiled. "I lack an excuse to see her, so I can use your birthday as an excuse to find her. Then we could bring her back together. Is that okay?" Sure. From then on, Bai Qinyu started to watch the time every day. Like a squirrel hiding its pine cone, she was really careful. However, White Emperor still broke his promise. She didn't wait for him to return. She didn't wait for him to fulfill his promise. Chapter 1693. I didn't fulfill the promise, and you didn't come back. The warm rays of the sun shone upon the pavilion, illuminating Bai Qinyu's beautiful features. Her skin was almost transparent and fair. Her long eyelashes fluttered gently, and her exquisite facial features were too beautiful to be real. We didn't even have a proper goodbye. If I had known that our fate as father and daughter was so shallow, I wouldn't have let you go back then. Bai Qinyu closed her eyes and muttered to herself. That morning when she was 5 years old was the biggest regret in her life. When she was alone, that regret would be infinitely great and desolate. It was said that time was a quack that could cure all diseases. But every time she thought about it, she would be caught off guard. Suddenly, at this moment, a series of messy and slightly hurried footsteps came from afar. Bai Qinyu, who was startled, opened her beautiful eyes and looked in the direction where the figures came from. It should be known that this was her private residence. Other than Elder Qingyue, who had taken care of her since she was young, almost no one would come here. Listening to the footsteps, there were more than one or two people. From doubt to astonishment, and from astonishment to astonishment, Bai Qinyu subconsciously got up from the bench. The group of people that came into view was absolutely unimaginable. The Great Star Emperor, the Devouring Emperor, the Desolation Emperor. These three imposing and domineering figures were constantly exuding a powerful aura that made people's hearts palpitate. However, Bai Qinyu's gaze was tightly fixed on Chu Hen's body. She clenched her jade-like hands, and there was still a complicated look in her beautiful eyes. When their eyes met, Chu Hen's face was also filled with many thoughts and deep thoughts. Why did so many people suddenly come? Even the strongest great emperor of the sacred clan appeared here. What happened? Bai Qinyu was even more at a loss. You guys, without waiting for Bai Qinyu to ask, a beautiful woman with peerless grace and elegance walked forward alone. Bai Qinyu was stunned, and she looked back at the woman who walked toward her. It was a very beautiful woman. Whether it was her temperament or her appearance, they could be said to be peerless. She approached Bai Qinyu step by step, the corners of her lips curling up slightly, a faint smile tinged with a hint of apology and guilt. Everyone at the side looked at the scene in front of them meaningfully. He couldn't help but notice that the two of them looked a little similar, especially their eyes. It was like a peach blossom. She had a pair of bright and beautiful eyes that were clear like water. A pair of gentle, beautiful, and serene eyes overflowed with ripples. Who are you? Bai Qinyu's voice involuntarily trembled a little. She didn't know why she felt uneasy. She inexplicably felt that this strange woman in front of her had an indescribable sense of familiarity. I'm a Ninth Abyss Monarch. The other party replied softly. Abyss Heavenly Emperor? Bai Qinyu was taken aback. He continued, but I want to hear you call me Mother Morhua. As soon as he said that, everyone's heart shook. Star, Great Wilderness, and Devour Great Emperors couldn't help but narrow their eyes. Bai Qinyu was the child of the White Emperor and the Abyss Heavenly Emperor. Sister Qinyu is my biological sister. Luo Mingchang's face was also filled with disbelief. Chu Hen, who was at the side, was also extremely shocked. Although everyone had many guesses on the way to White Emperor City in the Cloud World, they didn't expect the Abyss Heavenly Emperor to be Bai Qinyu's biological mother. Shock, astonishment, surprise. If that was the case, then wouldn't Luo Mengchang's father be the White Emperor? Chaos. Everyone's heart was in a mess. Especially Bai Qinyu herself. She was caught off guard and was looking for something in the crowd. When she saw Elder Qingyue, she hurriedly gave her a help look. Elder Qingyue squeezed out a dry and affectionate smile. She nodded at Bai Qinyu. Bai Qinyu seemed to be a little unsteady. She held the railing of the pavilion with one hand, her eyes slightly red. You are my mother? She looked a little dazed. Suddenly there were so many people here. The Abyss Heavenly Emperor, whom she had never met, claimed to be her mother. Bai Qinyu's heart was in a mess. In the end, she couldn't stand anymore and directly sat down on the bench in the pavilion. I'm sorry, it took me so long to find you, the Abyss Heavenly Emperor said guiltily. Bai Qinyu didn't say anything. The surrounding people were also deep in thought. The atmosphere was silent for a while. Bai Qinyu slowly raised her head. Why is it you? Why did you only tell me now? Once, Bai Qinyu had a sea of words in her heart that she wanted to say to her mother. But when the other party really stood in front of her, she was a little confused. She always thought that her mother was most likely just an ordinary woman. Otherwise, how could the world not know of her existence? However, one was the White Emperor and the other was the Abyss Heavenly Emperor. They actually hid such a secret that no one knew. The Abyss Heavenly Emperor sighed softly, and a trace of sadness flashed in her eyes. Your father and I don't get along. Even though your father always gives in to me, there's still many things that we can't avoid having disputes over. Even though the Abyss, Heavenly Emperor, and the White Emperor had been together for many years, because of their different statuses and identities, there were often conflicts. Among them, the biggest point of contention was the Demon Eye Saint clan. Everyone knew that the Demon Eye Saint clan and the Holy-Eyed Saint clan had been enemies since ancient times. The conflicts between the two clans were also innumerable. And yet, the Abyss Heavenly Emperor and the Demon Eye Saint clan's Li Jixia, who was also Chu Hen's mother, had a particularly good relationship. On one hand, they were good friends who were like sisters. On the other hand, there was the person they loved. It was precisely because of the two relationships that the Abyss, Heavenly Emperor, and the White Emperor had never been able to make their relationship public. Although it wasn't the whole reason, it was definitely the main reason. Coupled with their incompatible personalities, the relationship between the Abyss, Heavenly Emperor, and the White Emperor was sometimes good and sometimes bad. Even when Bai Qinyu was born, the two had broken out into fierce arguments. Once an argument, they would not contact each other for a few months or even a year or two. I scolded him for only thinking about his own ambitions and not willing to let go of his grudge with the Demon Eye Saint clan for me. And he scolded me for ignoring the dignity of the Holy-Eyed Saint clan and choosing to make peace with the Demon Eye Saint clan. Every time the argument got heated, we would even fight, the Abyss Heavenly Emperor recalled. The corners of his mouth could not help but reveal a somewhat bitter smile. In front of the world, they were the supreme, great emperors of the Holy Clan. Behind them, they were just troubled people who were troubled by love. After I gave birth to you, I thought that he should take a step back for your sake, but his silence made me furious. In a rage, I returned to the Abyss Saint clan alone and said that I never wanted to see him again, and he brought you to the Holy-Eyed Saint clan. Of course, the world did not know that the Abyss Heavenly Emperor had given birth to Bai Qinyu. At that time, the world only knew that the White Emperor had a daughter, but the identity of her birth mother was never revealed to the outside world, and no one dared to ask the White Emperor about it. As for the Abyss Heavenly Emperor, the world did not know that she and the White Emperor had given birth to a daughter. Even with the existence of Luo Mengshang, only Guyu knew about it back then. What happened after that? Do we really not meet again? Bai Qinyu bit her red lips and said. The Abyss Heavenly Emperor smiled a little bitterly. How could we not meet? After all, we both know that those were just words spoken out of anger. He would tell me everything about you in White Emperor City and how you slowly grew up. Then you didn't want to see me? Bai Qinyu's eyes were red, which made one feel pity for her. Yes, very much. The Abyss Heavenly Emperor's eyes were gentle and guilty. But I have always been selfish. I hoped that through you, he would be able to ease the relationship between him and the demonic Eye Saint clan. In reality, this was just an excuse for us. After being together for so long and arguing for so long, I just wanted to get back at him. Perhaps I just wanted to know if the dignity of the divine Eye Saint clan was more important or if the two of us were more important. So I told him that as long as he did not let go of his grudge with the demonic Eye Saint clan, I would not see you. The Abyss Heavenly Emperor's voice was very soft. There was both helplessness towards the past and many regrets. He was clearly a supreme ruler who held great power. But he also did such a senseless and ridiculous thing. Just for face. Both sides constantly tortured each other. Women. Sometimes one's vision was very long, so long that one could see through everything in front of them. Sometimes it was very narrow, so narrow that it was only for the sake of getting back at him. It was not an exaggeration to say that the Abyss Heavenly Emperor and the White Emperor loved each other and wanted to kill each other. Although the Abyss Heavenly Emperor and the White Emperor loved each other deeply. But in private, their intermittent relationship never gave them a better chance to announce everything to the outside world. However, when Bai Qinyu was 5 years old, there was a huge turning point. That year, the White Emperor and the demonic Eye Saint Emperor met at the Sky Palace for the Battle of Heavenly King Mountain. It was also that year. The demonic Eye Saint clan suffered an unprecedented blow. The primal chaos race was facing a calamity, and the White Emperor and the demonic Eye Saint Emperor both died at the Sky Palace. That year, it was definitely one of the most unmentionable events in the history of the human race. Two human race great emperors died at once. The world trembled. So, was it really my father who destroyed the demonic Saint clan and the chaotic clan? Bai Qinyu asked with a trembling voice, in front of the person he loved and the dignity of the divine clan. The White Emperor ultimately chose the 1,000-year hegemony. The divine Saint clan couldn't tolerate the existence of the demonic Saint clan in the end. Chu Hen's eyes sharpened, and he couldn't help but clench his fists. Beside him, Luo Mingshang was also very nervous. However, the Abyss Heavenly Emperor spat out a word with great determination. No. Chapter 1694. 1 second to remember. There was no pop-up window for free reading. The love of the heart. The pride of the divine clan. When Bai Qinyu was 5 years old, there seemed to be a result. The divine Saint clan had finally started a war with the demonic Saint clan. Along with the destruction of the chaotic clan, the deaths of Emperor Bai and the demonic Emperor. In the end, the divine Saint clan was unable to tolerate the existence of the demonic Saint clan. No. However, just at that moment, the ninth Nether Emperor firmly spat out a single word. Her eyes were filled with deep emotions. He chose us. Bai Qinyu's sparkling eyes were filled with astonishment. The Abyss Emperor's eyes were filled with tenderness. She looked at Bai Qinyu, then back at Luo Mengchong, who was standing with Chu Hen. Not long after I gave birth to Mengchong, he stood outside the door with her in his arms for a very long time. I clearly remember that evening. The light from the setting sun shone on his body, and I looked at his silent back. Only then did I realize that he had always been in pain. The pressure and torment he had endured were far greater than mine. The Abyss Emperor, who was immersed in her memories, felt slightly sad. In this world, was there sorrow that lasted for 1,000 years? Or love that lasted for 1,000 years? He believed that the vast majority of people would vote no. But in this world, perhaps there was a sorrowful love that lasted for 1,000 years. What I fought for was nothing more than a breath, but what he bore was the glory and humiliation of the entire divine Saint clan. The Abyss Emperor's eyes became slightly moist. She smiled a little bitterly. If I had known that our fate was so shallow, I would have treated him better back then. I wouldn't have spent so much time arguing with him. And then, Bai Qinyu asked softly. The Abyss Emperor calmed her sorrowful emotions. Then, he returned to the divine Saint clan alone. He waited for Mengchong until she was 1 month old, but he still didn't look for me. Not long after, news spread that Emperor Bai invited the demonic Emperor to battle at the Heavenly King Mountain. At this point, everyone present felt a chill in their hearts. This was especially true for Chu Hen, who couldn't help but feel his heartstrings tighten. Star Great Monarch, Desolation Monarch, and Great Devouring Monarch squinted their eyes. The Battle of the Sky Dome Palace that year. It was a private duel between Emperor Bai and Emperor Demon Eye. Not a single witness was invited. Therefore, none of the sacred race great emperors were present. However, everyone knew what happened next. Both White Monarch and Demonic Eye Great Monarch were dead. In the eyes of the various races, Emperor Bai was obviously using this opportunity to attack the Purple Imperial City of the Wong Realm and attack the Demon Saint clan and the Chaos race. The Saints were fighting. There was no right or wrong. The Holy Saint clan and the Demon Saint clan were mortal enemies. The other races were not surprised that Emperor Bai would attack the Demon Saint clan. The only fly in the ointment of the whole thing was that Emperor Bai had sacrificed his own life. Everyone thinks that it was the God Saint clan that attacked the demonic Saint clan, but that's not the case. The abysmal Emperor's voice turned colder, and his eyes were filled with coldness. Everyone's heart tightened. The Star Great Emperors and the other 2 Great Emperors looked solemn. Was it the Chaos Era and the Dragon Blood? The Desolation Monarch asked. If it was in the past, they would not have linked it to these 2 races. However, after witnessing the upheaval of the Sky-Burning Saint clan, they started to have doubts and reflect on the past. The Abysmal Emperor closed his eyes, as if he did not want to remember anymore. If that's the case, there's something fishy about the deaths of Emperor Bai and Emperor Demon Eye, the great devouring monarch said. In an instant, everyone's heartstrings tightened. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the abysmal emperor. The latter's beautiful eyes suddenly opened, and deep hatred could be seen in the depths of her eyes. The person who killed Emperor Bai and Emperor Demon Eye is universe god Guji what? Boom! Everyone's faces turned pale with fright when they heard the name. Even the three great emperors clenched their fists tightly and frowned. Universe god Guji, the name of the reincarnation emperor. The reincarnation saint clan. The strongest of the 10 races. Tremble. Absolute tremble. The Chaos Era and Dragon Blood Saint clan were already shocking enough. Who would have thought that behind them stood the reincarnation emperor? Fear and deep disbelief. Why? The reincarnation saint clan is already publicly recognized as the strongest of the 10 races. The heavenly emperor token is merely a formality. Why would he weaken the human race? The desolation monarch asked sternly. Because of variables. The abysmal emperor answered. What variables? First, the chaos clan's Chu Rantion. The chaos clan. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. His gaze subconsciously swept towards Chu Hen, who was not far away. Without a doubt, Chu Rantian's appearance had shocked all the sacred clans. He had once defeated many of the strongest sacred clans' monstrous prodigies. After the heavenly emperor's death, the chaos bloodline had been neglected for tens of thousands of years. Everyone believed that Chu Rantian was the one who could revive the chaos divine body. To be honest, even the Star Emperor, the Desolation Emperor, and the Devouring Emperor had been worried about this. After all, the 10 strongest sacred clans had all been dominated by the Heavenly Emperor's power. The Heavenly Emperor was so powerful that he could even kill the Heart Beast at will. Coincidentally, Chu Rantian had tied the knot with Li Jixia of the Demonic Eye clan. This indirectly increased the strength of the two clans. What's the second? What is it? The Star Emperor asked. The second is that Emperor Bai and the Demonic Eye Emperor agreed to fight in the Firmament Hall. It's not a battle of life and death. The Abysmal Emperor said. Everyone was bewildered. The Abysmal Emperor pursed his lips, and his eyes seemed to glow. Emperor Bai invited the Demonic Eye Emperor to fight in the Firmament Hall to put an end to the grudge between the two clans that had lasted for thousands of years. No matter who won or lost that battle, the grudges between the two races were written off. I was there that day. I witnessed the entire process of their fierce battle. The world-shocking demon eyes and the peerless divine eyes, the battle between the two emperors, the heavens and the earth darkened, the universe collapsed. That battle lasted for an entire day, from morning to night, and from night to dawn. The battle between the 9-star Demonic Eye Emperor and the 9-star Divine Eye Emperor. After an earth-shattering battle, neither of them could do anything to the other. I didn't leave even half a step. I saw with my own eyes how their murderous intent turned from being incompatible like fire and water to appreciating each other and shaking hands. The battle in the Firmament Hall. Under the light of dawn, the exhausted Emperor Bai and the Demonic Eye Emperor stood side by side for the first time after fighting for an entire day. It was also the first time they felt respect for each other. True heroes let bygones be bygones and let go of the grudge with a smile. The grudge between the two clans turned into smoke as Emperor Bai and the Demonic Eye Emperor smiled at each other, and they gradually put it down. That day, the Demonic Eye Emperor asked Emperor Bai, "Why are you like this?" Emperor Bai smiled and replied, "I'm afraid that the next time I quarrel with her, she will cry." As he spoke, the Abysmal Emperor smiled. He smiled with relief, but 2 streams of tears flowed down her cheeks. At that moment, she knew that she had won. In front of the honor and dignity of the Divine Eye Saint clan, he chose her. Bai Qianyu and Luo Mengshang, who were not far behind, also had tears on their eyelashes. Bai Qianyu smiled with tears in his eyes. So Dad is such a passionate man. The Abysmal Emperor couldn't help but laugh. But he laughed sadly. No wonder he said he would take me to see my mother on my 5th birthday. Don't blame him for not keeping his promise. I forgive him because I want to do better, both relieved, but also more sad. Emperor Bai just wanted to make things more perfect, but he didn't come back. After the battle between Emperor Bai and the demonic Eye Emperor, I thought that the 10 races would welcome a period of peace. The abysmal emperor wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes. Her eyes were filled with coldness and hatred again. She looked back at the Star Emperor, the Desolation Emperor, and the Devouring Emperor. I never thought that there would be a fourth person besides me in the Sky Dome Palace that day. A fourth person. Everyone thought of that cold and indifferent figure with eyes as deep as the abyss. Universe God Guji, the Reincarnation Emperor. Even though they had known him for countless years, the other great emperors still couldn't see through him. Without a doubt, the terrifying thing about the Reincarnation Emperor wasn't the strength of the Reincarnation Saint Clan, but the fact that everyone knew nothing about that man's thoughts. He killed Emperor Bai and the demonic Eye Emperor, and I escaped back to the abysmal Saint Clan with serious injuries, the abysmal Emperor said. It was a short sentence, so short that it summed up everything that had happened after that, because she really didn't want to remember that scene. Silence. The Star Emperor, the Desolation Emperor, and the Devouring Emperor all fell into silence. Two major variables. Chu Lenshin's chaotic bloodline, the divine Eye Saint Clan, and the demonic Eye Saint Clan making peace. The mastermind hiding in the dark revealed his ferocious claws and fangs. The chaotic clan and the demonic Eye Saint Clan's alliance. The abysmal Saint Clan and the divine Eye Saint Clan's good relationship. On top of that, the abysmal Saint Clan and the demonic Eye Saint Clan's good relationship. Once these forces formed some sort of alliance, the situation between the 10 strongest sacred clans would definitely be broken. To the Reincarnation Saint Clan, who had won the Sacred Clan Conference 9 times, this was definitely the last thing they wanted to see. Hidden danger. They should be killed in the cradle. The Reincarnation Saint Clan had made their move. They had gotten rid of the entire chaotic clan in one go, and the demonic Eye Saint Clan had suffered a heavy blow. Chu Lentian, Emperor Bai, and the demonic Eye Saint Clan had all disappeared. The Reincarnation Saint Clan's methods. It was so vicious that it made one's scalp go numb. A long silence. The Devouring Emperor was the first to break the silence. What is their motive this time? To attack the Burning Sky Saint Clan. What was their motive? Everyone's gaze instinctively swept towards Yin Fushu of the Chaotic Clan, the person who had gathered everyone to the Burning Sky Saint Clan. You can speak now. The Devouring Emperor's gaze was like a torch. Yin Fushu nodded slightly and let out a sigh. To be honest, I don't know their true motive, don't know. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Yin Fushu to give such an answer. Back then, when our clan and the demonic Eye Saint Clan encountered a huge change, only a few of us survived. Yin Fushu continued. At the start, we also thought that it was the divine Eye Saint Clan's vicious attack. But after many investigations, we gradually realized that it wasn't the case. Why? The Devouring Emperor asked. Yin Fushu looked up and explained. On the day of the incident, the divine Eye Saint Clan didn't seem to be acting strangely. Although the Beast region, which was on good terms with Emperor Bai, did make a move, the Beast region did not participate. Although it was possible that Emperor Bai had secretly gathered other assassins, it was still one of the 10 strongest sacred clans, the demonic Eye Saint Clan. Even if it was a sneak attack, I really don't know who could heavily injure the demonic Eye Saint Clan and invade the chaotic clan on the same day. I've also secretly investigated all of you here, Yin Fushu said to the 3 great emperors in front of him. In the end, we locked on to the Reincarnation Saint Clan. All these years, we have been paying close attention to all the movements of the Reincarnation Saint Clan. I guess that they attacked the Burning Sky Saint Clan because the Reincarnation Emperor couldn't wait any longer. Couldn't wait any longer? Everyone couldn't help but narrow their eyes. The Reincarnation Emperor couldn't wait to become the Heavenly Emperor, but the Reincarnation Saint Clan couldn't win the 10th place in this Sacred Clan Conference, without a doubt. This Sacred Clan Conference was the closest the Reincarnation Saint Clan had ever been to obtaining the the Heavenly Emperor token. 3 people who were popular to win the championship. The peerless genius Yu Shinin was unstoppable. No one would have thought that Yu Shinin, who had won 9 cities in a row, would lose to Chu Han. This was a variable. Then, the Thunder Saint clan was annihilated. Chu Han had become a great emperor earlier than his father, Chu Qintian. Even though he had only endured half of the last great emperor's tribulation, the title of Emperor Chu was another variable. Variables were everywhere. In the end, the reincarnation Saint Emperor was unwilling to wait any longer. Thus, the Burning Sky Saint clan became the first to be tested. The reincarnation Saint Emperor wanted the world to know that with his current strength, he could easily annihilate the strongest sacred clan. In the endless darkness, the nightmare quietly opened its sharp and cold claws. It was like the boundary between light and darkness in a dark and gloomy hall. A dense light flickered. A mocking sneer came from the left side of the hall. Hee, I'm very curious. Will they surrender without a fight? Or will they unite and resist? That's not hard to answer, the deep voice on the right side replied. I'm still a little worried. The remnants of the Primal Chaos clan haven't been cleaned up yet. I wonder if Chu Qintian is still alive. Buzz. Before the prince's voice fell, a strong spatial fluctuation came from above the hall. I've already said that I have nothing to fear even if the Celestial Emperor returns, much less a mere Chu Qintian. The deep voice seemed to overlap and spread out in the air. An invisible cyclone caused the space to distort. In the darkness, a piercingly cold wind swept through. A pair of eyes that exuded the aura of a supreme ruler quietly opened. As holy golden light flashed in his eyes, a demonic purple radiance flashed in the depths of his pupils. Whoosh! In an instant, one of his eyes turned holy gold, while the other turned demonic purple. 9 black dots floated in the depths of his pupils, 1 gold and 1 purple. Demonic and holy coexisted. In the darkness, they slowly rotated like the stars. Chapter 1695. Falling in Love, Divine King Wu Ji's latest chapter, as soon as possible. White Sovereign City. An unprecedented solemn atmosphere pressed down on everyone's hearts like a mountain. As the past was uncovered layer by layer, the ambition of the Reincarnation Sacred Tribe, Chaos Sacred Tribe, and Dragon Blood Sacred Tribe was exposed. The demonic Ice Sacred Tribe, the Chaotic Tribe, and the Sky Burner Sacred Tribe of today. The Reincarnation Emperor's ruthlessness made everyone's hair stand on end. Under the calm and indifferent appearance of the Reincarnation Emperor, there was actually a terrifying ambition. While everyone was shocked by the Reincarnation Emperor's actions, they were also shocked by the strength of the Reincarnation Sacred Tribe. The Sky Burner Sacred Tribe, which was also one of the strongest sacred tribes, had been annihilated just like that. If not for Yin Fushu's timely notification, the sky-burning Saint Clan's disappearance could be said to be silent, unbeknownst to anyone. What do you think? The Huang Emperor broke the silence after a long period of silence. The Star Emperor and the Devouring Emperor looked at each other. There were only 2 options. One was to fight back. The other was to sit back and do nothing. However, no matter which option they chose, it would definitely cause chaos in the entire human clan. It might even cause unprecedented chaos. There was still silence. The complexity and severity of the situation far exceeded everyone's imagination. To be honest, I don't want to be enemies with the Reincarnation Sacred Tribe, the Devouring Emperor said. The Star Emperor and the Huang Emperor laughed self-deprecatingly. No one was willing to be enemies with the Reincarnation Sacred Tribe, especially when the Chaos Sacred Tribe and Dragon Blood Sacred Tribe were involved. However, they might not let you off. At this moment, a voice filled with hatred suddenly came into everyone's ears. Everyone was shocked and turned to look, only to see a figure with red hair and crimson eyes appear in front of them. The Sky Burner Emperor. You're awake. The Star Emperor, who was on good terms with him, walked forward. The Sky Burner Emperor would have welcomed him with a smile on any other day. However, at this moment, his pale face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. His scarlet eyes, which were originally like flames, were now so cold that there was not the slightest bit of heat in them. "What's going on? Why did they attack you?" Desolate Emperor asked. To be honest, until now, they still didn't dare to completely believe the whole story. The sky-scorching martial monarch and the people behind him wore gloomy expressions. "You God Guji wants me to submit to him," Burning Heaven Emperor said coldly. "He wants me to bow down to him and become his dog. Oomph. How can I submit to such a despicable and shameless bastard?" Even though the Burning Heaven Sacred Clan had suffered a great calamity, the Burning Heaven Monarch was still proud and unyielding. But in his eyes, there was a deep hatred. "That bastard knows that I'm the one who doesn't respect him the most out of all the clans. That's why he chose to attack the Burning Sky Saint Clan." But things won't end so easily. Their target is the entire Ten Direction Saint Clan and the entire human race. He wants to take control of the Heavenly Emperor's token and replace the Heavenly Emperor. His words were as sharp as a knife. It was sharp and ear-piercing. That was the real problem. The Heaven Burning Saint Clan was just the beginning. The Reincarnation Saint Clan's goal was already very clear. "You only have two choices." Burning Heaven Emperor's eyes flashed with cold light as he shouted, "Submit, or join forces to kill." "Submit. Join forces to kill." Wow. The moment he said that, even the great emperors couldn't help but clench their fists. Kill the Reincarnation Saint Clan. Just hearing those words made their scalps go numb. Silence came again. Everyone looked at each other as if they were weighing the pros and cons of life and death. After all, it wasn't just the Reincarnation Saint Clan. There were also the Chaos Desolation Saint Clan and the Dragon Blood Saint Clan. It meant that they were going to be enemies with the three strongest Saint Clans at once. On this side, the Star Saint Clan, the Great Desolation Saint Clan, the Devouring Saint Clan, and the Abysmal Saint Clan all retained their complete power. The Holy Eye Saint Clan lacked a great emperor. The Burning Sky Saint Clan only had Burning Heaven Emperor and a few high-level experts left. Once the two merged, they would be able to form a complete and strongest sacred clan. As for the Demon Eye Saint Clan, Chu Hin also had the battle record of killing the Thunder Emperor. He could barely reach the same level as the Great Emperors. Together with Yin Fushu and the others, the average combat power of the Demon Eye Saint Clan and the Chaotic Clan could not be ignored. Without a doubt, in terms of the lineup, they definitely had the advantage. On one side, there were 3 Saint Clans. There were only 3 Great Emperors. On the other side, there were 7 Sacred Clans. There were 5 Great Emperors, and the special Emperor Chu Hin, made 6. They could fight. However, what everyone was really worried about was not just the difference in power between the two sides. One should know that once a civil war of such scale broke out in the Ten Direction Saint Clan, it would be a catastrophe for the entire human territory. A slight mistake could even cause the situation that had been maintained for 10,000 years to collapse. But back to the topic. The Reincarnation Saint Clan's actions had never considered the rise and fall of the other sacred clans. A piercing cold wind blew, sweeping the leaves on the ground. The leaves were like light feathers falling into the pool, creating circles of ripples. Everyone's hearts were like uneasy ripples, rippling little by little. Go back and think about it carefully. We are qualified to fight against Universe God Guji. After a while, the Star Emperor turned to look at everyone. Everyone's expression was very serious. There's no need to think about it. I will definitely not let Universe God Guji, Sun He, and Long Ling off. The Burning Sky Emperor's eyes surged with the flames of hatred. The Star Emperor nodded slightly, then glanced at the Desolate Emperor, the Devouring Emperor, the Abyss Emperor, and Chu Hin. 3 days. 3 days later, at White Sovereign City, we will announce the result. 3 days was not long, nor was it short. But it was enough to make an important decision, because they didn't have any more time to drag things out. The Reincarnation Saint Clan might extend its claws to another clan. All the great emperors nodded solemnly. "You guys stay here for now," the Star Emperor said to the Burning Sky Emperor with a complicated look. The two were good friends. The relationship between the two clans was also very good. Now, seeing the burning sky emperor in such dire straits. The star emperor couldn't help but feel deep sorrow. What he didn't know was whether the star Saint Clan would be next. The burning heaven emperor let out a deep breath, then frowned. Chinbei, I won't force you, but you mustn't underestimate universe god Guji's ambition. If we let him defeat us one by one, then we'll really have no choice but to accept our fate. The Star Emperor didn't say much. The Desolate Emperor and the Devouring Emperor didn't say a word either. Then, under the serious atmosphere, the few great emperors dispersed. The autumn wind rustled. The cool breeze that passed by could always take a few leaves off the branches. The departure of the leaves. No one knew whether it was the wind that chased after them or the trees that didn't want them to stay. But autumn was a season of sad parting. In the courtyard, long time no see, looking at the handsome young man in front of him, Yin Fushu's eyes glowed with a gentle smile. Chu Hen froze for a moment. He subconsciously looked at the young lady behind Yin Fushu, who had previously informed him to go to the Burning Sky Saint Clan. The young lady raised her eyebrows, seeming to be slightly disdainful. She seemed to be a little dissatisfied with Chu Hen's previous unfriendly behavior. We've met before? Chu Hen looked back at Yin Fushu's jade-like face. Of course. Yin Fushu smiled, as if he was looking at a junior. When you were born, the first person Rantion informed was me. I even carried you. If your parents could see you grow to such an extent with their own eyes, they would definitely be very happy. We've met before. When I was born. With just a few simple words, the distance between Chu Hen and Yin Fushu was instantly shortened. It also made Chu Hen understand that not only did the blood of the demonic Ai clan flow in his body, but also the soul of the chaotic clan. Your father and I are like brothers. If you don't mind, you can call me Uncle Yin. Yin Fushu said. Chu Hen paused, then nodded without hesitation. Junior Chu Hen greets Uncle Yin. With that, Chu Hen cupped his fists and bowed sincerely. Yin Fushu hurriedly went up to support his arm. Henner, there's no need to be so courteous. As long as you don't blame me for coming so late. Uncle Yin already knew of my existence? Chu Hen asked. Yes. Yin Fushu nodded affirmatively. Ever since those things happened, I've been sending people to search for you. I was relieved when I learned that Rantion entrusted you to the Lone Star Guard. With that, Yin Fushu looked at Li Wushang, who was standing behind Chu Hen with Ralph Elwan. Their gazes met. Li Wushang nodded slightly, seemingly somewhat emotional. Then why didn't you come to find me? Chu Hen asked. Because it's too dangerous. Yin Fushu answered. We belong to the kind of people who can't see the light of day, and we can be discovered by the Samsara Saint Clan at any time. Letting you grow alone is the best choice. Yin Fushu's tone was very calm, but it sounded like there was a deep sense of helplessness. It was precisely because he was always in the dark that he did not disturb Chu Hen. This was the greatest protection for him. Then have you seen my parents? Chu Hen asked. Yin Fushu shook his head. I'm very sorry. I've been looking for them all these years, but I'm really sorry. Yin Fushu apologized twice in a row. He seemed to be afraid of seeing the disappointment in Chu Hen's eyes. However, what surprised Yin Fushu was that Chu Hen's eyes were also very calm. There wasn't even much fluctuation in his emotions. It's fine. We'll meet eventually. Yin Fushu smiled. It's really surprising. Rantion gave birth to an impressive son. With you here, I could be at ease about the future of the Primal Chaos clan. Saying this, Yin Fushu turned and said to the people behind him, These are the clansmen of our Primal Chaos clan. Chu Hen's heart moved slightly as he looked at the people behind Yin Fushu. One look, one smile, they were constantly drawing closer to each other. At this moment, Chu Hen didn't feel that he was alone. The Primal Chaos clan was still here. He looked forward to the future. All right, let me introduce you. This is Yin Yuan, my daughter. Yin Fushu said. Chu Hen was stunned. The young woman called Yin Yuan was slightly disdainful, as if she didn't want to pay attention to him. I'm sorry about what happened in Kuan City. Chu Hen coughed and said apologetically. You almost hurt me, and you think an apology is enough? Yin Yuan replied coldly. Yin Fushu smiled. Yuan with Hen cultivation, It was a piece of cake for him to keep you here. He never thought of hurting you. Hearing this, Yin Yuan raised her eyebrows and came to her senses. Chu Hen was an existence that could even kill the Thunder Emperor. It wasn't a problem for him to keep an emperor like her here. But outside of Koan City, she successfully escaped. Clearly, this wasn't normal. Did I misunderstand you? Yin Yuan looked at Chu Hen in disbelief. As for Chu Hen, he only faintly smiled and did not say anything. All right, Henner, what do you think? Yin Fushu's expression turned solemn. Chu Hen retracted his smile, and his eyes turned cold. The bewitching purple glow disappeared. Chapter 1696. Obeying the heavens is not necessarily good. Defying the heavens is not necessarily bad. There's no avoiding it, and I'm willing to fight to the death. Chu Hen's attitude was especially resolute. His gaze was as sharp as an unsheathed blade. When he said this, his expression was especially calm and indifferent. His demeanor was not inferior to the great emperor's at all. Good. Yin Fushu nodded solemnly and approvingly. He patted Chu Hen's shoulder. As expected of Chu Rantian's son, we've had enough of hiding all these years. This time, we'll fight to the death with the reincarnation Saint Clan. A formless, domineering aura emanated from Yin Fushu's body. A cold wind blew. Yin Yuan and the others from the Primal Chaos Clan had made up their minds. Of course, the key to fighting against the reincarnation Saint Clan, Chaos Saint Clan, and Dragon Blood Saint Clan was still the choice of the Star, Great Wilderness, and Devouring Saint Clan. 3 days. What decision they would make, they just had to wait. Beside the pavilion, beside the rockery, next to the Abyss Emperor sat Luo Mengchong and Bai Qinyu. The three of them could be said to be a beautiful scene. Although no one knew what they were talking about, Luo Mengchong and Bai Qinyu would occasionally smile. Haha, was father that pitiful before? He was forced to cook. Luo Mengchong covered her mouth in disbelief. That's the great Emperor Bai. Yes. Back then, I often thought of strange ideas to torture him. Most of the time, we even envied the lives of ordinary people. As he spoke, the Abyss Emperor looked at Bai Qinyu. You know the green bamboo hut? Bai Qinyu nodded. Yes, when I was young, father often brought me there to stay for a few days. That's where he and I met privately. Both of you were born there. Abysmal Emperor said with a gentle look in his eyes. Bai Qinyu smiled. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel nostalgic. Luo Mengchong was fine. After all, Emperor Bai only existed in her mind. However, Bai Qinyu had lived with Emperor Bai for 5 years. There were some childhood memories that he remembered very clearly. Previously, when one of Chu Hen's demon eyes was taken away, she had brought him to the place to recuperate, which was the green bamboo hut. Do you hate me? The Abyss Emperor looked at Bai Qinyu's gentle and beautiful face with some guilt. Bai Qinyu shook his head with a smile. I will be grateful. Gratitude? The 9th Nether Heavenly Emperor was stunned. Luo Mengchong was also a little surprised. Bai Qinyu pursed her red lips and loosened her clenched fists. She lowered her head and looked into the eyes of the 9th Nether Emperor. I'm grateful that you could still come. Tell me that I'm not alone. It was like wearing more clothes on a cold day to keep out the cold. It was like eating a very salty dish and needing to drink a lot of water to dilute it. However, a person with a bitter heart only needed a little bit of sweetness. That would be enough. As for the Netherworld Emperor, Bai Qinyu didn't blame him, nor did he hate him. Instead, he chose to let it go in a very magnanimous manner. The Netherworld Emperor's eyes couldn't help but turn red. She gently pulled Bai Qinyu into her arms, as if to make up for the regrets of the past few years. You'll have me in the future. It wasn't sorry. It wasn't sorry either. Hearing those 4 words, the shackles that had been trapped in Bai Qinyu's heart were unlocked unintentionally. Luo Mengchong's eyes were glistening. It was just like fate. She originally thought that they were 2 people who didn't know each other, but she didn't expect that they had such a connection. This coincidence was called fate. At this time, Chu Hen came to the corridor outside the pavilion alone. Bai Qinyu, who was leaning on the shoulder of the Netherworld Emperor, was slightly startled when she saw Chu Hen. Then, she got up slightly, a complicated look surging in her eyes. The Netherworld Emperor and Luo Mengchong also looked over. The way the mother and daughter looked at Chu Hen was different. Chu Hen himself was a little uncomfortable, but he still came. This bad boy born from Li Jixia. The Netherworld Emperor said coldly. Luo Mengchong paused, but she took the Netherworld Emperor's hand. Mother, let's come back later. The Netherworld Emperor naturally understood Luo Mengchong's intention. She looked helplessly at her two daughters beside her. Regarding Luo Mengchong, some things between Bai Qinyu and Chu Hen, the Netherworld Emperor had already heard from Guyu. Perhaps it had once again verified that sentence. Such was fate. If Chu Hen wasn't the son of Li Jixia, the Netherworld Emperor probably wouldn't be so easy to talk to. Do you want me to kill him for you? The Netherworld Emperor said to Bai Qinyu. Uff. Bai Qinyu was caught off guard and laughed. Luo Mengchong was startled, and her grip on the Netherworld Emperor's hand tightened. Bai Qinyu glanced at Luo Mengchong and replied, I'll do it myself. The Netherworld Emperor also smiled and shook her head. Then she got up and left with Luo Mengchong from the other side of the pavilion. Luo Mengchong cast a gentle gaze at Chu Hen. The corners of her mouth raised slightly, and she nodded slightly. Soon, only Chu Hen and Bai Qinyu were left in the pavilion. The atmosphere was a little quiet. Bai Qinyu turned sideways and looked in the direction of the waterside pavilion. Chu Hen walked to her left, but didn't know what to say. If you're just afraid of being killed by my mother, then you're thinking too much, Bai Qinyu said calmly. Chu Hen coughed twice, touched his nose, and said, Are you all right? What does it have to do with you? Bai Qinyu's beautiful eyebrows were full of arrogance. I'm sorry. Sorry? Bai Qinyu smiled. She turned back to look at Chu Hen, her beautiful peach blossom eyes full of disdain. You've let me down for a lot of things. May I ask which one you're referring to this time? Chu Hen's eyes were a little apologetic. You don't know how to answer? Bai Qinyu asked in return, then glanced at him indifferently. Damn man. With that, Bai Qinyu turned and left. Stay away from me, she said. Don't leave for too long. Chu Hen's voice came from behind. Bai Qinyu froze and stopped in her tracks. Chu Hen continued, You can leave for a while, but don't leave for too long. If you're not angry anymore, come back. Bai Qinyu didn't answer. She didn't look back either. At that moment, Chu Hen gently embraced her from behind. His warm, broad chest pressed tightly against Bai Qinyu's back. He whispered in her ear, I've always believed in you. I just couldn't tell you earlier. Bai Qinyu's delicate body trembled. She recalled what happened in the unembroiled realm Ziyu City, and her eyes turned red. If I believe you again, my surname won't be Bai. Bai Qinyu tried to break free from Chu Hen's arms, but Chu Hen interlocked his hands and held her even tighter. If I hurt you again, my surname won't be Chu. What does your surname have to do with me? Who am I to you? Bai Qinyu retorted. Chu Hen smiled and rested his chin on Bai Qinyu's shoulder. You are the one who can influence the weather. Because of you, the weather will be good. Because of you, the weather will be bad. Because of you, the weather will be just right. Every day with you around, the sun will be just right. These days when you're not around, I have not been living well. If there was something in this world that could be won without bloodshed, it would be the words of love whispered into the ear by someone you cared about. Bai Qinyu gently broke free from his embrace and looked back with tears in her eyes. Don't even think about it. We've already agreed that will be the last day. Everyone knows that first miss by means what you say. Chu Hen's face was filled with gentleness. I've become better than before. Do you want to get to know me again? Chu Hen took 2 steps back and stretched out his right hand. Hello, my name is Chu Hen. May I know your name, miss? Bai Qinyu bit her red lips with her silver teeth and stretched out her hand with a slightly trembling hand. My surname is Bai. I'm called Bai Qinyu, and just as her fingertips were about to touch, Chu Hen pulled her into his arms and deeply embraced her. Then, this will be the first day we've met, just like the first day they met. The same lines, the same 2 people. Only this time, it was Chu Hen who said it. The grievances and depression accumulated in Bai Qinyu's heart were like a torrent, continuously soaking Chu Hen's closed together with the tears in the corner of her eyes. The bright sunlight shone into the pavilion. The two seemed to be surrounded by a circle of soft light. Bai Qinyu wrapped her arms around Chu Hen's neck and softly whispered in his ear, "I love you." More than 3,000 times, Chu Hen was startled. He couldn't help but slowly come back to his senses, a faint light appearing in his eyes. So, she had heard what he said that day. He smelled the faint fragrance on Bai Qinyu's hair and softly whispered, "Meeting you in this life is unparalleled." Just like the other part of the story, the most wonderful thing was not meeting, but reunion. Especially after the misunderstanding was resolved, it was as if they were making up for the past regrets. Of course, happy times were always short-lived. An impending storm was brewing. The news about the disaster of the sky-burning Holy Clan, the reappearance of the Chaos Clan, and the awakening of the Abyss Emperor began to spread like wildfire. The catastrophe of the entire human realm, the civil war between the 10 strongest holy clans, was about to come. Chapter 1697. Clang. The wind and rain shook the sky. It was as if there were earthquakes and tsunamis everywhere. All the provinces seemed to be shrouded in an endless, gloomy darkness. Have you heard? The sacred clan of 10 Directions is going to have a civil war. What did you hear that? How dare you say that? You don't know yet, do you? The sky-burning clan was almost wiped out. I heard that less than 100 of them survived. What? Who did it? The Reincarnation Sacred Clan. In the Primordial Era and the Dragon Blood Sacred Clan. Uproar. The world was in chaos. Everyone was shocked. The world shuddered. Then, the news about the Reincarnation Sacred Clan's attack on the Demon Eye Sacred Clan and the Chaotic Clan was dug up. At that moment, the people of the various prefectures were in a state of panic like never before. Why would they do that? Can't you tell? It happened after the Sacred Clan Conference. The Reincarnation Sacred Clan doesn't plan to wait for the next Sacred Clan Conference. Could it be? It can't be wrong. The Reincarnation Sacred Clan wants to replace the Chaotic God Clan. The Reincarnation Emperor wants to replace the Skytharch. Panic and shock. It spread to all the major clans, sects, and factions. Everyone knew that the world was going to change. However, the change this time would be the most significant in the past 10,000 years. The Civil War. The impact of this would definitely break the balance of power of the human race that had lasted for countless years. The 5 Elements Sacred Clan. The world is going to be in chaos. The hunchbacked second elder stared at the downpour outside with a serious expression. The thunderstorm that pierced through the rainy night seemed like it was going to tear the sky apart. The Reincarnation Sacred Clan is really going to go all out this time. Lin Yinga's expression was also indescribably solemn. The Sky-Burning Clan was also one of the most powerful sacred clans, but it had been wiped out just like that. Not to mention the ordinary sacred clans. While they were shocked by the Reincarnation Sacred Clan's methods, they were also afraid of the Reincarnation Sacred Clan's power. The Civil War has broken out. The other sacred clans will not be able to stay out of it. The second elder expressed his worry. Oh, when the 10 strongest sacred clans go to war, no matter which side laughs in the end, it will affect the ministers outside the palace. Second elder's words had a deeper meaning. Leninga could not help but fall into deep thought. After a moment of silence, he said, if it were 3 races against 7 races, the latter would definitely have the upper hand. Not necessarily. The second elder had a different opinion. Since the Reincarnation Saint Clan dared to attack the Sky-Burning Saint Clan, they must have something up their sleeves. Naturally, they are not afraid of the other clans joining forces against them. To be honest, I hope that the Reincarnation Saint Clan can take over the Heavenly Emperor token. That way, we might be able to avoid the catastrophe. I don't think the other races will just sit and wait for death. A war is inevitable. A great battle. It was inevitable. Clang. The Samsara Saint Clan was like a monster that had been dormant for countless years and was constantly nourished by the storm in the rainy night. When it was unwilling to wait any longer, its sharp claws and fangs quietly stretched out, along with its undoubtedly exposed ambition. 3 days. Without a doubt, this was the slowest 3 days for anyone. Cloud World. Bidi City. On the platform of the central city. After the rain, the air was a little moist and cold. With the Abyss Emperor and Sky Burning Emperor as their leaders, everyone was already waiting there. Yin Fushu, Chu Hen, Bai Qianyu, Luo Mengshang, and the others from the Primal Chaos race stood at the two sides. Report. Star Emperor has arrived at Baidi City. Report. Huang Emperor has arrived at Baidi City. Along with the announcement from the guards of Baidi City, the Star Emperor, Huang Emperor, and the many higher-ups of the two races stepped onto the platform. Looking at the Star Emperor and Huang Emperor, the Sky Burning Emperor and the Abyss Emperor exchanged glances with one another. Their expressions were complicated. The Devouring Emperor? The Abyss Emperor asked softly. Star Emperor and Huang Emperor nodded. He didn't reply. The former replied. Towards such an outcome, the confidence of everyone present couldn't help but take a blow. One must know that without the Devouring Saint clan, it meant that they had lost the main force of a great emperor. That's not surprising. The ninth Nether Emperor smiled. The Devouring Saint clan has always been neutral. We respect the Devouring Great Emperor's decision. However, even if the 6 of us join forces, we'll still be able to fight them. Without the Devouring Saint clan, the 7 races have become 6 races. Their overall strength would definitely be greatly reduced, but they still had the advantage. That's right, we still have the advantage, the Star Emperor said with certainty. The Desolate Emperor said worriedly, I don't blame the Devouring Great Emperor for not standing with us. I just hope that he won't choose to side with Universe God Guji. Hearing that, everyone couldn't help but squint their eyes. If the Devouring Saint clan chose to side with the Reincarnation Saint clan, they wouldn't have any advantage at all. It could even be said that it would be a huge blow to everyone's morale and fighting spirit. That won't happen. Although we don't interact much with the Devouring Emperor, he knows what's right and wrong. Even if he doesn't help us, he won't collude with the Reincarnation Saint clan, the Star Emperor said with certainty. Let's hope so. Even though they had some understanding of the Devouring Emperor's character, no one could guarantee their safety when it came to matters of life and death, especially when the interests of others were at stake. Perhaps we can get help, Yin Fushu of the Primal Chaos clan said. For example, the Desolate Emperor asked. The Southern Continent's Celestial Seal region, the Oracle Palace. The Oracle Palace? The eyes of the great monarchs lit up when they heard that. The Oracle Palace is the leader of the Southern Continent and also the strongest talisman sect. If we can get Sect Master Mu Fei's help, our chances of winning will increase greatly, the Sky-Scorching Emperor affirmed. But then again, we don't interact with Sect Master Mu Fei, so the Oracle Palace might not help us, the Star Emperor replied. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. I'll give it a try, Chu Hen said. You? The Desolate Emperor squinted. Chu Hen nodded. Yes, I've met with Palace Master Mu Fei before. Although the chances of success are low, I can give it a try. That's the only way. Rumble. Suddenly, at this moment, the sky above White Emperor City was filled with furious winds and angry clouds, the sea of clouds roiling. Accompanied by a majestic aura that was as majestic as a mountain, a disdainful sneer resounded above everyone. Ha ha! Look at how ignorant you are. You actually want to unite against us at this time. Honestly, isn't it better to be a subordinate of His Highness? Then, a gigantic silhouette appeared between heaven and earth. The Sky-Scorching Emperor clenched his fists, and flames rose in his eyes. Sun He, you bastard! How dare you come here? The person was none other than the Antiquity Emperor. Oomph! The Star Emperor sneered. Looks like you're also afraid of death. You used your avatar to come here to find out the truth. Ha ha! Do you think it's necessary? The Antiquity Emperor laughed disdainfully. It's really interesting that you don't know anything. You overestimate yourself. Our strength is already beyond your imagination. Then let me tell you, we are irreconcilable. The Star Emperor replied stubbornly. Very well. The Antiquity Emperor smiled mockingly and proudly. We, the Six Paths world, welcome your arrival. If it's possible, please hurry up. I can't wait to see how weak you all are. Ha ha! A wild and wanton laughter shook the sky. The Antiquity Emperor was especially disdainful towards the alliance of the 6 races. Bastard, The sky-scorching emperor's eyes spewed out scorching flames. Then he moved his palm, and a meteorite-like fireball fell from the sky and landed on the giant figure. Bang! An incomparably heavy explosion blasted the sky. A ring of blazing flames swept across the sky above White Emperor City. Along with the collapse of the sky, the giant figure of the Antiquity Emperor was crushed into pieces by the terrifying attack. The scorching storm raged across the sky. Nai Nether, Xing Chun, Fen Tian, the desolate emperor, and the others had a solemn look on their faces. Chu Hen, Yin Fushu, Bai Qinyu, Li Wushang, and the others' pupils trembled violently along with the changing flame storm in the sky. Balls of flames flew across the sky like fluttering war flags. At this moment, the order of war was announced. The largest and most intense civil war in the human race's territory was about to arrive. Chapter 1698. Undercurrents surged in the various provinces. When the Star Emperor and the Desolate Emperor arrived at White Emperor City, the Six-Clan Alliance was announced. As soon as the order of battle was announced, the entire world was shaken. The Sacred Clan's civil war. In the end, it was unavoidable. However, at this increasingly tense moment, there were many sects and Sacred Clan forces that secretly sided with each other. In front of true benefits, perhaps not many people advocated harmony. In the Southern Land, Celestial Seal Region, Heavenly Mystery Palace, chaos is coming, and heroes will fight for supremacy. It's finally here. Heavenly Mystery Palace Master Mu Fei stood in the Heavenly Mystery Hall, his expression solemn and serious. Many high-level managers of the Heavenly Mystery Palace were gathered here. Heavenly Mystery Palace Master Mu Fei didn't seem too surprised about this day. As if he had expected it, everyone in the hall shook their heads. I didn't think a Sacred Clan conference would cause such a violent chain reaction. It's not strange at all. The Samsara Saint clan was supposed to hold the Heavenly Emperor token, but they lost in the fight for the 10th championship. They underestimated the Samsara Saint clan's ambition. I just received news that the Dark Saint clan, Light Saint clan, and a few other sacred clans have secretly sided with the Samsara Saint clan. Oh, everyone in the Heavenly Mystery Hall couldn't help but look around. Should we? Humph. That's the internal strife of the 10 sacred clans. It has nothing to do with our Celestial Seal region. We don't need to get involved in this. Ha ha ha. It's great that you can think that way. Suddenly, a powerful and overbearing aura that was like the heavy ring of a bell reverberated through the hall. Everyone in the Heavenly Mystery Palace changed their expressions. Who's there? Roar. As soon as he finished speaking, an impassioned dragon roar caused the entire hall to shake. Soon after, a ball of blurry golden flames rose and burned in the hall. Accompanied by a mountain-like pressure, there was a figure floating in the blurry flames that revealed the domineering aura of an emperor. Although the figure was illusory, his facial features and appearance could be seen clearly. The most shocking thing was that there were 9 soul dragon shadows revolving around him like tassels. 9 dragon energy. Could it be? Everyone from the Heavenly Mystery Palace was shocked. On the other hand, Mu Fei, who was sitting at the top of the hall, raised his cold eyes and stared at the illusory figure. I wonder what brings the Dragon Blood Emperor to my Celestial Mystery Palace. The Dragon Blood Emperor had a frivolous smile on his face as he looked at Mu Fei with a hint of mockery. Don't meddle. There was a hint of playfulness in his voice, but it was clearly a threat. Mu Fei frowned. Is this a warning? No. The Dragon Blood Emperor raised a brow before he said softly, "This is a threat." It was not a warning. It was a threat. The oppressive sharpness from the Dragon Blood Emperor was like a sharp sword against the throats of everyone in the hall. It wasn't easy for the Heavenly Mysteries Palace to survive to this day. It would be a pity to wipe it out. I'm here to tell you personally that those who obey will prosper, and those who defy will die. Think carefully. Don't be a busybody. With that, the ball of golden flames immediately rose. Then, like the air that had been burnt out, it turned into countless golden dust particles and dissipated in the Celestial Mystery Hall. The moment the Dragon Blood Emperor disappeared, the oppressive feeling on his body immediately disappeared. However, everyone's heart was still shrouded in a sense of oppression. The sharpness from before was clearly visible. That feeling was like a sword was pointed at their throats, and they could deeply feel the threat that seeped into their souls. This was a warning that originated from the Emperor. It was also a threat from the god of death. "Old man, no. Palace Master, my brother Chu Hen is here." At this moment, the loud voice of the old Een monkey, Hanyu, came from outside the hall. Following that, a few figures with extraordinary bearings stepped into the hall. As soon as they entered the hall, Chu Hen sensed that the atmosphere was not quite right. The people of the Celestial Mystery Palace looked at them with a reprimanding gaze. Chu Hen subconsciously understood. However, he still calmly cupped his fists and bowed to Mu Fei, who was at the top of the hall. "This junior, Chu Hen, greets Palace Master Mu Fei. I am Yin Fushu of the Chaos Clan. Greet the Celestial Mystery Palace Master." On this trip to the Celestial Seal region, Chu Hen was not the only one who had come. Yin Fushu, Yin Yuan, and the others had accompanied him. Things were different now. Previously, Chu Hen had to pass through many obstacles to see Mu Fei, and had even helped the old Een monkey break the 1,000 images formation before he could see the other. Now, Chu Hen had already achieved the title of Emperor Chu. In the entire Celestial Mystery Palace, only Mu Fei's aura could be compared to Chu Hen's. The others in the hall seemed somewhat dim. Mu Fei was slightly surprised, and then looked at Yin Fushu, saying, "The former twin stars of the Chaos Clan, it is an honor to meet you today." Mu Fei said calmly, "Palace Master Mu Fei, you are too kind. I do not dare," Yin Fushu said with a gentle smile. "May I know why you have come?" Mu Fei asked in a low voice. Yin Fushu looked at Chu Hen, as if to tell everyone that Chu Hen was the leader. Chu Hen nodded slightly. "Palace Master Mu Fei, we have come to seek help from the Celestial Mystery Palace. Join us to fight against the Samsara, Dragon Blood, and Primeval races." He went straight to the point. He did not even beat around the bush. The hearts of everyone in the main hall trembled. "I am very sorry. This is the matter of the 10 races, and has nothing to do with the Celestial Mystery Palace. If there is nothing else, forgive me for not seeing you off." It was also a direct rejection. However, Chu Hen did not pay attention to that elder. His deep and steady gaze directly stared into Mu Fei's eyes. Their eyes were as deep as blue holes in the deep sea. "Palace Master Mu Fei, you should know that no one can truly stay out of it." Chu Hen's voice was as deep as a mountain. "Give me a reason to help you," Mu Fei said in a low voice. "Just because the Celestial Mystery Palace will not stand on the Samsara Saint Clan side. Is this reason enough?" As soon as Chu Hen finished speaking, many of the Celestial Mystery Palace's upper echelons in the hall sneered. What kind of reason is that? Brat, don't think that you can be arrogant just because you have become an emperor." "That's right. In my opinion, you and the Samsara Saint Clan are the same kind of people. You're also the ones who started the war." Although the person standing in front of everyone was Emperor Chu, Chu Hen's seniority and age were still there. Moreover, he had been to the Celestial Mystery Palace once before. As a result, the people of the Celestial Mystery Palace were not as afraid of Chu Hen as they were of the Dragon Blood Emperor. Facing everyone's scolding, Chu Hen didn't care at all. His demeanor was still there, and his aura of an emperor could be seen between his brows. Following the heavens might not be good. Going against the heavens might not be bad. Those who started the war might not be evil. I believe everyone is clear about what the Samsara Saint Clan did. If we don't fight, we can only wait for death. If you all think that the Celestial Mystery Palace won't become the Second Sky Burning Saint Clan, then just treat it as if I never came here. The Second Sky Burning Saint Clan? Hearing this, the people of the Celestial Mystery Palace couldn't help but frown. Even Mu Fei faintly narrowed her eyes. "Palace Master Mu Fei, we already have the advantage. If the Celestial Mystery Palace joins us, it will be like adding wings to a tiger," Yin Fushu said sincerely. Mu Fei sighed. "Let me think about it for a few days." "What?" The people of the Celestial Mystery Palace were shocked. Chu Hen cupped his fists. Okay, I will wait for your news in the Cloud World's White Emperor City. With that, Chu Hen bowed respectfully once more. Then, he turned around and left the hall with Yin Yuan and Yin Fushu. The moment Chu Hen stepped out of the door, the hall was in a mess. Everyone looked at Mu Fei in confusion. Palace Master, why didn't you just reject them? Are you really going to agree to them? To be honest, in my opinion, the Six-Race Alliance might not have the advantage. Since the Samsara Saint Clan dared to wipe out the Sky-Burning Saint Clan, they must have something to rely on. The Six-Race Alliance is just going to face them head-on. It's hard to say who will have the last laugh. As the saying goes, the onlooker sees the game more clearly than the onlooker. The Celestial Mystery Palace was the other giant outside of the Ten Direction Saint Clan, so they could see the changes in the situation more clearly. Of course, not all of them were against it. I think we could take a gamble. Given the Samsara, Dragon Blood, and Chaos Desolation Clan style, they might not let us off in the future. At that time, they will still force us to become their subordinates. The argument continued. Mu Fei's expression was also somewhat solemn. Is there really no way to avoid it? I say, Chu Han boy, do you really want to start a war with the Samsara Saint Clan? On the Sky Stairway, Oldie Monkey also came out with Chu Hen and the others. After all, this matter was of great importance, so Oldie Monkey did not interrupt when they were in the hall. Chu Hen nodded and answered solemnly. It's not that we want to start a war, it's that we can't avoid it. That's true, but as far as I know, there are already a few sacred clans that are secretly on the side of the Samsara, Chaos, and Dragonblood clans. We also know that, which is why we came to find you. The Celestial Mystery Palace was the leader of the Southern Continent. It was also the leader of the Incantation Master sect. If they could join, it would greatly increase the power of the Six-Race Alliance. Oldie Monkey nodded. I'll help you persuade the old man later and see if he can agree to help you. Thank you. Chu Hen smiled. Don't mention it. What's our relationship? Oldie Monkey patted his chest generously. Right, where's Miss Mingsham? Why isn't she here? Speaking of which, I wanted to give an immortal seal spirit tree to you as a wedding gift. Do you want to take one back? Chu Hen shook his head, a hint of a smile surging in his eyes. Oldie Monkey's small eyes slanted. Look at your expression. Why do I feel like you're about to become a father? Forget it. You're the Chu Emperor now. You don't need an immortal seal spirit tree. The war with the 10 Holy Clan is imminent. I don't know if our immortal seal domain can defend the war of the 10 races. It was unavoidable. Chu Hen raised his eyes and looked at the azure sky of the 9 heavens. The field of vision within his pupils continued to expand. Even if I have to risk my life, I will defend. Chapter 1699. The war of the 10 races was coming. The 9 states was in a state of turmoil. The major clans and sects were all secretly standing on the side. They were all closing their doors. It was as if the entire human domain world was about to face a great catastrophe. Everyone was in danger, but also ready to make a move. White Sovereign City. As time passed, the hearts of the clans became more and more serious. The war was imminent. It was a kind of tension in the midst of urgency. They hoped that the day would come sooner, but they also hoped that the day would never come. The Star Saint Clan, Great Wilderness Saint Clan, and 9 Nether Saint Clan departed from their respective clans and gathered in White Sovereign City. Other than that, there were also a few ordinary Saint Clans who were on good terms with them that chose to join the battle in the Six Paths world. For example, the New Moon Sacred Clan and the 5 Elements Sacred Clan after careful consideration. The War of the Saint Clan in the human domain was like a huge whirlpool that was constantly expanding. Its scope was getting bigger and bigger. Many forces were like water creatures that were drawn into it. When the 2 storm whirlpools collided, the world would definitely be turned upside down and the world would explode. Except for those forces that had a good relationship with the 6 clans who all stood out to help, the Martial Sect, Han Yin Martial School, and Spirit Phoenix Valley in the Midland gathered all of their warriors and sent them to White Emperor City a couple of days after the order was given. In the victorious East State, Mount Kunliu, Thousand World Sect, and Johua Palace's Gong Yangyu, Qiao Yong, and Xing Yi did not hesitate at all. In fact, when they arrived, Chu Hen rejected them immediately. The reason was simple. The battle in the Six Paths world was extremely dangerous and would be accompanied by countless blood and sacrifices. Chu Hen did not want to put Mount Kunliu, Wu Zong, and the other sects in danger. After all, this was an internal conflict between the Ten Directions Saint clan, and they could stay out of it. But come to think of it, when the real chaos was about to engulf the world, how many people could really watch from the sidelines? For Wu Zong, Mount Kunliu, and Thousand World Sect, the War of the Ten Races might not be enough to participate, but the moment they arrived in White's sovereign city, they had already prepared for the worst. Maple Wing Sky Valley. Princess Ali is back. What? The princess is back? Where's she? Bring me there quickly. The saint-winged heavenly flame sparrow race erupted into a clamor. Commander Qi Shou hurriedly led his subordinates to welcome them. Princess, when he saw Mo Qingli return, Qi Shou's face was full of excitement and joy, followed by shock. Your Highness, your eyes? He clearly remembered that Mo Qingli chose to use her own eye to force Huang Tsang to compromise in order to get back Chu Hen's demon eye. It's been cured. Mo Qingli nodded with a smile and said softly, Oh yes, the clan emperor is in the sacred hall. Qi Shou hurriedly said, I'll lead you to him now. All right, Lord Clan Emperor, Her Highness the Princess has returned. Before even stepping into the hall, Qi Shou had already shouted impatiently. In the cold and solemn main hall, the leader of the Sacred Wing Heavenly Flame Sparrow race, Huang Tsang, sat in the main hall like an emperor. The father and daughter met. The atmosphere was exceptionally cold. You still know to come back. Huang Tsang stared coldly at Mo Qingli, a hint of mockery in his eyes. Father. Mo Qingli clenched her fists, then slowly loosened them. Then she said softly, I beg for your forgiveness. Qi Shou nodded with a gratified expression. This was what he had hoped to see. Heh, Huang Tsang sneered disdainfully. Weren't you very strong-willed when you left last time? What, now you're running back to apologize? Lord Clan Emperor, Her Highness was momentarily muddled. It's fine if you reprimand her, but don't take it to heart. Qi Shou hurriedly mediated. Huang Tsang snorted coldly. Momentarily muddled? If it weren't for this idiot, I wouldn't have lost all my face. She still has the face to come back after taking advantage of others. Facing Huang Tsang's rebuke, Mo Qingli's eyes flashed with a trace of loneliness. She smiled bitterly. Father, I'm here to say goodbye. Qi Shou was stunned. Huang Tsang was also stunned. Your Highness, what are you? The War of the Ten Directions Saint Clan is coming. I am willing to follow Chu Hen and the others to the Six Paths world. If the outcome is good, I will still be safe. If not, I will not be able to return home. I came here to see Father one last time. If I do not return home, I will bid farewell. As she finished, Mo Qingli knelt down. The first kowtow for Father's kindness in raising me. The second kowtow for the clan's unwillingness to part. The third kowtow for the crime of offending you that day. After kowtowing to Huang Tsang 3 times, Mo Qingli stood up slowly. Her fair forehead was slightly red. Huang Tsang clenched his fists and shouted, If you want to leave, then don't ever come back. Your Highness, the matter of the Ten Directions Saint Clan has nothing to do with you. Don't go, Qi Shou also quickly advised. However, Mo Qingli only smiled and looked at Huang Tsang's gloomy face calmly. Your daughter, I have no regrets in life, and I have no regrets in death. I just hope that Father will always be in good health. After saying this, Mo Qingli felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders. Then, she turned around and left the hall without hesitation. Your Highness, Qi Shou kept calling out behind her. But Mo Qingli did not look back. Huang Tsang stood at the top of the hall and looked at Mo Qingli's slender back. He could not help but feel a little lost. War. It meant that life and death were uncertain. Life and death. It also meant that they would not be leaving. Sometimes saying goodbye was not just for etiquette, but to fill up the regret. Perhaps the biggest regret in life was not the departure of someone important, but not being able to properly say goodbye to that person. Leaving in too much of a hurry, Leaving unprepared would create regret. White Sovereign City. Are we going to try to say goodbye? On the magnificent Jiaxing Tower, the four great emperors, Xing Chun, De Huang, Jiu Yu, and Fun Tian, as well as Chu Hen, Yin Fushu, and the others all felt a little complicated. Many sacred clan forces had already gathered in White Sovereign City. As the day of the war approached, everyone began to say goodbye to their important people while accumulating the will to fight. Family, lovers, or important friends, because no one knew what would happen after they stepped into the Six Paths world. How many people would come back? Reporting to the great emperors, the Lord of Tianji Palace, Mu Fei, has arrived with the remaining members of Tianji Palace. The thunderous voice directly set off a cheer of excitement inside and outside White Emperor City. What? Tianji Palace is here? That's great. With the addition of Tianji Palace, our overall strength will definitely increase greatly. Amidst the uproar, the great emperors also personally went to the front of White Sovereign City to welcome them. Tianji Palace. Mu Fei had a dignified appearance as he approached. The powerful aura that he emitted wasn't inferior to the great emperors. Mu Fei greets the great emperors of the sacred clan. Palace Master Mu Fei, there is no need to be so courteous. Your arrival has made us feel much more at ease. Star Monarch cupped his fists and returned the greeting. Huang Monarch nodded in agreement. We were still worried at first, but now that you are here, we feel that victory is already in our hands. Mu Fei, however, shook his head. You all have overestimated Mu Fei. Tianji Palace just doesn't want to see the humans being slaughtered under the control of the Reincarnation Saint Clan. Palace Master Mu Fei's generosity is admirable, Star Monarch said. He had to admit it. With the addition of the Heavenly Mystery Palace, everyone felt as if they had swallowed a tranquilizer. Old Monkey Han Yu, who was standing behind Mu Fei, also quietly raised his eyebrows towards Chu Hen. His small eyes carried a bit of pride. Chu Hen understood immediately. It seemed like the reason why Mu Fei agreed to help the Six Races Alliance was because of Old Monkey. Since Palace Master Mu Fei is here, we can start discussing the details of the conquest of the Six Paths world, Star Monarch said. The other great emperors also nodded, especially Burning Heaven Monarch. His eyes were burning with fighting spirit. He was obviously the most impatient one. In a heavily guarded palace, four great emperors, Tianji Palace Master, Chu Hen, Bai Qinyu, Yin Fushu, and a few higher-ups were gathered here. In the middle of them was a virtual battlefield. The virtual battlefield was like a miniature plate of the Six Paths world. The mountains, rivers, valleys, and other areas were all outlined. The distribution of the Six Paths world is quite unique. The Heaven Dao world is in the center, surrounded by the Human Dao world, Ghost Dao world, Beast Dao world, Azura Dao world, and the Hell Dao world. Star Monarch analyzed. The main base of the Reincarnation Saint Clan is in the innermost Heaven Dao world. Everyone squinted their eyes. Then where should we attack from? Yin Fushu asked. I'm afraid we can't just take one route. Mu Fei, the master of the Heavenly Mysteries Palace, said, no matter which domain we enter from, we will face an ambush from the other two domains. Once we are cut off, the entire line will collapse. Palace Master Mu Fei is right. Therefore, I've discussed it with the Abyss Heavenly Emperor. We'll split into 5 teams and occupy the 5 outer realms. We'll attack the Heavens Dao world from 5 different directions. The Great Star Emperor said in a powerful voice. 5 teams? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. In other words, the strength of the alliance had been split into 5. Once the Samsara Saint Clan attacked one side, they would definitely be annihilated. Similarly, if the Reincarnation Saint Clan chose to defend one of the realms, the other 4 would be able to attack the Heaven Dao world. As for the Six Paths world, they don't know which realm we will attack from, so they will definitely have people guarding the 5 directions. Our forces are scattered, but so are they. As long as 3 out of the 5 armies can suppress them and take over the Heaven Dao world, they will be surrounded by enemies from all sides, and the front line will collapse, 9 Nether Monarchs said. This is indeed the best plan, But how should we allocate the manpower? Yin Fushu asked. The Star Saint clan will attack the Ghost Dao world, Star Monarch said. The Great Wilderness Saint clan will attack the Azura Dao world, Star Monarch said. The Abyss Saint clan will attack the Human Dao world, Nine Nether Monarch said. Everyone looked at Sky Burning Monarch. Now, the Sky Burning Monarch had less than 100 people left, so they naturally could not take up the heavy responsibility of attacking one of the realms. However, the Divine Eye Saint clan did not have a great monarch to lead them. Thus, the two could complement each other. Sky Burning Monarch will lead the Divine Eye Saint clan to attack the Hell Dao world, Nine Nether Monarch said to Sky Burning Monarch and Bai Qianyu. All right. Sky Burning Monarch had no choice but to agree. Then, the Beast Dao world is the only one left. Everyone's gaze turned towards Chu Hen and Mu Fei. One was the rising star, Monarch Chu. The other was the overlord of the South Continent's celestial seal domain. Without a doubt, the combination of these two would definitely not be weaker than any of the other realms. Chu Hen and Mu Fei looked at each other and nodded. All right. Leave the Beast Dao world to me and Palace Master Mu Fei. Chapter 1700. When the wind rose, dusk was approaching. The sunset glow of the West Bank was like a wildfire. The red sunset clouds formed all kinds of strange and majestic cloud patterns. White Emperor City. Many forces gathered. Star Saint Tribe, Abysmal Saint Tribe, Great Wilderness Saint Tribe, Holy-Eyed Saint Tribe, Tianji Palace, and many other warriors were lined up under White Emperor City. The dark mass of the Saint Tribe army was spectacular. Every one of them was clad in neat battle armor and wielded sharp weapons that gleamed with sharpness. Pairs of frosty eyes were like ferocious beasts with hatred in their hearts. Cold, desolate, cold wind. On the city platform, the four great emperors, the master of Tianji Palace, Chu Hen, Yin Fushu, and many others who initiated the war stood proudly like kings. The heavenly way is heartless. Our names will shake the world. Reincarnation is unjust. We will light the lightning. Star Emperor's voice was like thunder as he shouted, Rise, war flag, war flag. Boom! Thunder pierced through the sky above White Emperor City. The wind was fierce and the clouds were angry. Then, countless dazzling and mysterious runes intertwined on the ground. Accompanied by a dazzling light, a rune formation that spanned 100 zhang appeared on the city platform. Crack, accompanied by the sound of rocks rubbing against each other. A square stone platform slowly rose from the ground. When the stone platform rose to more than 1 meter high, there was a hua, sound of air trembling. The moment the soft light was summoned, an imposing war flag appeared in the air. The wind rose. The war flag fluttered. On the war flag, there were embroidered patterns representing the various races, such as Star, Nine Hells, Great Desolation, Burning Heavens, God's Eye, Demon's Eye, Heavenly Mystery Palace, and Chaos. Looking at the unfolding flag in the wind, the hearts of everyone present shuddered. The war flag that gathered the patterns of the Saint Tribe showed endless aggressiveness, especially the pattern of a golden pupil and a purple demon eye. It was like the combination of an ancient demon spirit and a demon god, extremely sharp. The fluttering of the war flag. It directly aroused the fighting spirit of everyone present. The great emperors exchanged glances with one another and nodded in understanding. Then, the four martial emperors, the master of the Heavenly Mystery Palace, and Chu Hen walked forward at the same time. The 6 of them held the flag together. Hua! In an instant, a peerless aura that could intimidate the 9 regions suddenly exploded inside and outside White Emperor City. The war flag has already been raised. We won't turn back. We won't stop until we slay the Heavenly Dao. The 6 people shouted in unison. The impassioned and vigorous voice instantly caused the war drums to explode. A strong gust of wind blew and his heart surged. The cheers of the entire White Emperor City shook the heavens. The battle flag has been raised, and we will not turn back. I won't rest until I slay the Heavenly Dao. The battle flag has been raised, and we will not turn back. I won't rest until I slay the heavenly Tao. At this moment, the high fighting spirit was like the burning clouds on the west bank, burning the mountains and rivers of the nine heavens. The armies of the various races were united, and their morale was like a rainbow. Then, the six of them let go of the war flag in their hands. The Star Emperor raised his arm, and the war flag directly flew to the highest point of the city and stood there steadily. Everyone, tomorrow we will fight the reincarnation realm, dragon blood, and Hongwang's saint race. The arrow is already knocked on the bow, and we have no choice but to release it. We are really grateful that all of you are willing to follow us. With that, the great Star Emperor actually bowed deeply to the troops of the various clans below the tower in front of him. The Nine Nether Emperor, Heaven-Burning Emperor, Desolate Emperor, Chu Hen, Mu Fei, and the others did the same. The various races all had solemn gazes as they agreed in unison. The battle flag has been raised, and we won't turn back. We won't rest until we slay the heavenly Tao. The aura that could topple mountains and overturn oceans spread out in all directions like a tsunami. The few emperors couldn't help but feel touched. I have nearly forgotten about this blood-boiling feeling. The Desolate Emperor sighed and said, "That's right. We have been living peacefully for too long, and the sharpness in our bodies has been worn out." The Star Emperor replied. Then, the Nine Nether Emperor took a step forward and pointed at the east side of White's sovereign city. There was a mountain of wine piled up with countless big and small wine jars. Tonight, we will drink to our heart's content. Tomorrow, we will fight our way to the six paths heavens together. The Nine Nether Empress was peerlessly beautiful. The arrogance in her eyes was like the stars. The Nine Nether Emperor is right. Tonight, we just want to get drunk. Tomorrow, we will fight our way to the reincarnation six paths world. The Desolate Emperor agreed. Drink. Don't leave a single jar behind. Today, a cup of wine, and tomorrow, we will be drunk on the battlefield. The sun gradually set. The night rose. The moon rose. Inside and outside of the huge white sovereign city, the rich fragrance of wine wafted. The warriors of the various saint clans and sects were exchanging cups, and some were drinking by themselves. It will be hard to see a scene like today's in the future. On the city tower, several great sovereigns looked at White Emperor City, which was immersed in the intoxicated atmosphere. Maybe, if it wasn't for the reincarnation Saint Clan, we wouldn't be here today. The last time we fought side by side was when we fought against the demons. Yes, it's been a long time, so long that I can't remember when it happened. I only remember that the Celestial Arch was still here. It's a pity. If the Celestial Arch was still here, the world would enjoy peace. Mountains are unpredictable, and water is unpredictable. There's no need to say more tonight. We just need to meet in the heavenly law realm. You're right. Let's meet in the heavenly law realm. The war was coming. The world was filled with emotions. He would also have a strange feeling towards the people he was familiar with. It was like a farewell. Big brother Chu Hen is here. Over at Mount Kunliu, Yi Yao, Long Qingyang, Gong Yang Yu, Long Xuan, Long Zhan, and the others were all holding cups of wine in their hands, smiling as they looked at Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang. They were the people around them that they were most familiar with. Chu Hen didn't need to say much. With just a look, they could understand each other's thoughts. But at a time like this, Chu Hen wanted to say something, but hesitated. "What do you want to say?" Long Qingyang asked. "If you want to persuade us to stay here tomorrow, then don't say anything. Hen, when we decided to come, we won't turn back. Uncle Jean may not be strong, but he just wants to be by your side." Long Jean said softly. This unyielding and hot-blooded man treated his own child with gentleness. "That's right, big brother Chu Hen. We just want to fight alongside you," Yi Yao said firmly. Chu Hen smiled. His fearless smile became even more relaxed. He raised the cup in his hand. "All right, tomorrow, follow me to the Six Paths world. Come, even if it's the reincarnation Saint Clan, we will still go." They raised their hands and gulped down the wine in their cups. When Luo Mengshang was about to raise her cup, Chu Hen snatched the blanket away from her. "Huh?" Luo Mengshang was startled. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth raised into a smile. "Lend me your wine." Luo Mengchong smiled snappily. All right. Then, Chu Hen walked towards the martial sect, Han Yun clan, and Spirit Phoenix Valley. Dongfang Hengji, Shu Yuan, and Mei Zhang also raised their eyes and smiled. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, we would never have been able to experience a battle of this level. Dongfang Hengji was the first to speak. Chu Hen was startled. He couldn't help but smile. Don't feel guilty. You didn't drag us down. We came willingly. Spirit Phoenix Valley Master Mei Zhang patted Chu Hen's shoulder. That's right. We have a grudge with the Primitive Saint Clan. Even if we don't take the initiative, the Primitive Saint Clan will not let us go. Since we can't avoid it, we might as well go all the way. Shu Yuan, the sect leader of Han Yun sect, said decisively. The war god palace that they had destroyed was a stronghold of the Primitive Saint Clan in the Midland. With the Primitive Saint Clan style of doing things, they would definitely vent their anger on them in the future. They were on the same side. The Martial Alliance also had a good reason to join the alliance with Chu Hen. Chu Hen let out a deep breath. Chu Hen, I won't say much. Let me propose a toast to you. After saying that, Chu Hen raised the cup of wine that he snatched from Luo Mengchong and gulped it down. Dongfang Hengji, Shu Yuan, Mei Zhang, Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Wu Yin, and other former disciples of Chu Hen also gulped down the wine in their cups. Not far behind them, Huang Fuqing, who was standing with Huang Fu Hao, also smiled at Chu Hen. Their eyes met. Chu Hen couldn't help but smile. However, neither of them spoke. They had experienced many parting and reuniting. On a star-plucking pavilion on the west side. I used to think of drinking and chatting with you in such an environment and admiring the stars together. It would be perfect if there was one less person. Chun Jingfeng, a genius from the Star Saint Clan, said loudly. I think so too. Why don't you step aside? Yen Hanyu from the Burning Sky Saint Clan said disdainfully. Bai Qianyu, who was standing between the two, smiled and shook her head. At this moment, a hearty laugh came from behind. I'm sorry, The three of them turned around and saw Chu Hen on the pavilion with a cup of wine in his hand. Bai Qianyu's beautiful eyes wandered as she walked to Chu Hen and held his arm intimately. I'm really sorry, Brother Jingfeng, Brother Hanyu. I'm indeed his. Chun Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu exchanged a glance. Can you beat him? It's a little difficult. He's Emperor Chu after all. Forget it then. The two of them asked and answered each other, but they were not angry or jealous like before. In fact, after the Saint Clan conference, the two of them were relieved. After all, anyone with a discerning eye could see that Bai Qianyu only had eyes for Chu Hen. Chu Hen raised the wine in his cup and said to the two of them, Let's have a drink. Sigh. Although I don't really want to drink a toast for my rival in love, I still have to maintain my poise. I know. Chun Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu also raised their wine cups and clinked it with Chu Hen before raising their heads and drinking. Treat her well. We're still a threat to you, Yin Hanyu said. I will. Chu Hen smiled and exchanged a glance with Bai Qianyu. His eyes were filled with tenderness. The night was getting late. The wine was getting drunk. The slightly tipsy crowd slept on the ground in the gentle night breeze. Although a great battle was about to break out the next day, the vast White Emperor city was peaceful and peaceful. The flag of the Alliance fluttered in the wind at the top of the city tower. Do you want to attack the Beast Dao realm with me tomorrow? In a quiet pavilion. Chu Hen asked Bai Qianyu. I wanted to, but my mother asked me to assist the Burning Sky Emperor. Bai Qianyu replied. Chu Hen nodded. He naturally knew what the Abyss Emperor meant. The Burning Sky Emperor was formed with the army of the Holy-Eyed Saint Clan. After all, the former was not the ruler of White Emperor City. If the Burning Sky Emperor directly commanded the Holy-Eyed Saint Clan, it was hard to guarantee that no one would reject it. But Bai Qianyu was different. She was the daughter of the White Emperor. She could be said to be the highest commander of White Emperor City. Her orders were no different from the White Emperor's. Then you must protect yourself. Chu Hen said with a gentle tone. You too. Bai Qianyu's eyes were like autumn water, lovely and charming. Chu Hen wrapped his arms around her slender waist, and a naughty smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. You said before that I can't beat you, so I can't do bad things. Do you want to try and see if you can escape now? By Chinyu's cheeks were slightly red, and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised. If I want to leave, you still can't stop me. Is that so? Yes, but I don't want to escape. You can't escape. After saying that, Chu Hen gently pressed his lips against Bai Chinyu's warm as jade lips. The night was warm. The wind was not cold. Under the bright, frost-like moonlight, Bai Chinyu and Chu Hen stood in each other's arms. The moonlight outlined the outline of their faces, one beautiful and flawless, the other angular and angular. The faint ambiguity made the moonlight particularly intoxicating. The night passed. Dawn was coming. The loud sound of the horn spread to every corner of White Emperor City. Below the city, the recruiters of the various clans were already ready to go. They lined up neatly, with colorful armor and sharp weapons. Although they had been drinking for a whole night, none of the conquerors showed any signs of drunkenness. Everyone exuded a piercingly cold aura, like that of a fierce tiger released from its cage. On the city platform, several great emperors were also wearing imperial battle robes, and their bodies seemed to be occupied with the power of dragons and tigers. On this day, it was finally coming. Chapter 17:01. The war bugle sounded. Dawn was coming. Outside White's sovereign city, the armies of the various races showed their ferocity. The wind blew like a mountain. On the city platform, all the great emperors were wearing emperor's battle robes, their eyes sharp as swords. Everyone Heaven Dao realm meet. The Great Star Emperor had an imposing appearance. His voice was like thunder as he spoke to the other great emperors, Mu Fei and the others. When the 5 armies gather in the Heaven Path realm, we will destroy the 6 realms of reincarnation. The Huang Huang Emperor shouted, "Sprinkle the sky with hot blood and enter the Heaven Path." The Burning Sky Emperor was burning with the flames of war. Heaven Path Realm, Heaven Path Realm. The Abyss Heavenly Emperor and Mu Fei also resolutely agreed. Clang! In the sky above White's sovereign city, the sky suddenly darkened. Along with the rolling thunder and storm, countless dazzling golden lights flashed in the sky. Then, huge flowing cloud golden boats appeared in the sky one after another. Each giant ship was more than 10,000 meters long, blotting out the sky and the sun. As they hovered over White Emperor City, they looked like magnificent prehistoric beasts. Warriors of the Divine Star Clan, listen up. Follow me to the Ghost Realm, the Star Emperor shouted. Yes, Divine Star Clan. The voices below the city shook the sky. Get on the ship. Then, everyone from the Divine Star Clan stepped into the air. The Starlight Divine Armor, which was overflowing with light, gave off a divine light. The spectacular scene was like a meteor shower that streaked across the sky. Warriors of the Divine Star Clan, listen up. Follow me to the Azura Dao Realm. The Huang Huang Emperor's heavy voice swept in all directions like a wave. Yes, Divine Star Clan. Get on the ship. Abysmal Emperor, listen up. Follow me to the Nightmare Realm. Abysmal Emperor, listen up. Holy Eye Saint Clan, listen up. We will follow Burning Sky Emperor to the Hell Dao Realm. Holy Eye Saint Clan. The mighty expedition team was like an army of fiend gods that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. One after another, they stepped onto the ship that hovered high in the sky. We're about to set off as well. Mu Fei, the master of the Heavenly Mystery Palace, looked back at where Chu Hen was. Chu Hen, who was standing with Long Qingyang, Yi Yao, and Long Xuan, nodded and turned to look at Luo Mengshang. Luo Mengshang gently tidied up the divine armor on Chu Hen's body. The purple battle armor was covered in electric arcs that looked like spirit vines. At Chu Hen's waist hung the formless emperor blade in its sheath. His eyes were like stars, and his angular outline looked like it had been cut by a knife. The domineering aura exuded from Chu Hen's eyebrows was not the slightest bit weaker than those great emperors. Let's go. Luo Mengchang smiled sweetly. Chu Hen also smiled. He held Luo Mengchang's lily-white hand and said, "You stay here, what?" Luo Mengchang frowned. "No, I want to go with you." "Chu Yuni," Chu Hen said softly. Chu Yuni," Chu Hen repeated again. His eyebrows were full of gentleness. Because we don't know if it's a boy or a girl, we can use this name. The clouds have Scar, and the clothes are Chong. Our child is called Chu Yuni. Luo Mengchang's delicate body trembled slightly. There were faint ripples in her eyes. You know, she looked at Chu Hen in disbelief. She had never mentioned this in front of him. During this time, Luo Mengchang had been wearing a loose robe, so the people around her did not pay much attention to the changes in her lower abdomen. Long Qingyang, Yi Yao, Long Xuan, and the others were also shocked. What? Sister Mengchang is pregnant? Oh my God, this is too. It was a surprise. Another surprise. But it was not the right time. Everyone couldn't help but look at Chu Hen with a complicated expression. Why would it be at this time? However, Chu Hen was exceptionally relieved. There was even a blissful smile on his face. I will definitely come back. You stay here and wait for me. As he spoke, Chu Hen turned his gaze to Su Yurong, who was standing with Long Qingyang. Sister-in-law, stay here and help me take care of Meng Chong. Su Yurong was startled, but she looked at Long Qingyang. Long Qingyang naturally nodded in agreement. To be honest, even if Chu Hen did not say anything, he would have persuaded Su Yurong to stay, because Long Qingyang was about to become a father like Chu Hen. Luo Mengchang was at a loss. At this moment, Abyss Emperor and Bai Qianyu, who had yet to board the ship, walked over. Listen to Chu Hen, you stay, Abyss Emperor said softly. Luo Mengchang's eyes turned red. Her jade-like hands tightly grasped Chu Hen's broad palm. Chu Hen was still smiling. He leaned forward and kissed Luo Mengchang's forehead. Wait for us to come back. With that, Chu Hen let go of Luo Mengchang's hand and turned around like an emperor, his cloak fluttering behind him like a battle flag. He waved his arm. Those who will follow me, Chu Hen, to conquer the Beast Dao world, board the ship, set sail. With that, the Oracle Palace's warriors leaped onto the ship in the sky. The Demon Eye Saint clan, the Chaos Race, the Martial clan, the Hanyan clan, the Spirit Phoenix Valley, the Kunlia Mountain, the Thousand Worlds sect, the Jihua Palace, and many other forces and sects followed closely behind. The vast crowd quickly swarmed into the giant ship. The great emperors looked at each other. See you in the heavenly Dao world. All right, see you in the heavenly Dao world. Definitely. Then, the few great emperors flashed into their respective troops. Boom! Lightning was ignited and the sky exploded. A giant whirlpool storm covered the sky above White Emperor City of the Cloud World. Within the whirlpool, the space cracked open. Everyone, the 5 armies of the heavenly Dao world, gather. Set sail. Set sail. Wung wung. Heaven and earth trembled and the 9 heavens moved. One after another, the majestic airships sailed into the spatial tunnel inside the storm whirlpool like giant beasts. Thunder pierced through the ears, the incomparably magnificent scene of doomsday collapsing. Chu Hen and Bai Qinyu looked at each other from afar. The two of them smiled and headed back to their respective teams. Long Qingyang, Yi Yao, Long Xuan, Imo Qingli, Gong Yangyu, Dongfang Hengji, and the others followed suit. Before entering the golden ship, Chu Hen turned around and looked at Luo Mengchang, who was standing on the city tower. Flowers will bloom again, and people will meet again. When I return, I will appreciate the Mo's hang flowers with you in Uni. Chu Hen murmured in his heart. Then, Chu Hen jumped into the giant flowing cloud ship without any hesitation. Rumble. Under the impact of lightning, one after another, the huge ships disappeared from the sky above White Emperor City. Soon, the White Emperor City, which was originally filled with the armies of the various races, became empty. Looking at her mother, sister, and loved one step onto the battlefield towards the Six Paths world, Luo Mengchang felt an indescribable loneliness in her heart. But she did not cry. I will wait for you all to return, together with you. The situation in the 9 states changed drastically. The war between the 10 saint races. The storm that had been brewing for a long time finally erupted. This was also the largest war between the saint races in the human territory. Led by the 6 Race Alliance, the 5 armies headed towards the Six Paths world from 5 different directions. On this day, it would be recorded in the history books. On this day, it was a huge change in the human territory. On this day, it was also a terrible catastrophe for the human territory. The devouring saint race. Great monarch, the Six Race Alliance has officially declared war on the Six Paths world. In an empty hall, an old man bowed and reported the latest news to the devouring great emperor, who was sitting in the hall. A flash of emotion flashed in the devouring monarch's eyes. He placed his hand on his forehead, as if he was deep in thought. "Do you suddenly feel lonely?" the old man tentatively asked. "In truth, the war with the saints isn't without any benefits for us to devour the saints." The devouring monarch did not answer. After a long time, he slowly said, "Let them be." Inside the Tian-He mountain range, the monster territory, compared to the human territory, the monster territory was obviously happy to see this. Hee, humans' greatest enemy is indeed themselves. The 10-direction saint race's internal strife is so interesting. The few great sovereigns of the human clan have always been our biggest threat. This time, they're being unreasonable. It would be best if a few great sovereigns could fall. Beside a secluded spring. "Little Housie, why are you here? I've been looking for you everywhere," said Princess Chi-Chi of the purple gold rat race as she skipped to Housie's side. "I heard that your brother Chu-Hen is going to war with the reincarnation saint race. Are you worried?" Housie's eyes flashed with a sharp light. "Worrying is useless." "Then what are you doing?" "Waiting for someone." Housie's tone was sharp. "Waiting for someone?" Chi-Chi was stunned. "Waiting for who? Could it be?" Krong. Suddenly, a storm gathered in the depths of the sky ravine mountain range. As the mountains, rivers, and palaces shook, all the demonic beasts in and out of the monster territory prostrated on the ground, bowing their heads and roaring. Boundless demonic aura filled the sky and filled the earth. Rays of light that were like sharp blades pierced through the earth and into the sky like divine rays. Within the intense light, a slender figure that released a sharp aura was like a peerless demonic soul that was unsealed in the darkness. This aura is, in the dark ancient palace, demon monarch Chi Kong suddenly opened his eyes on the stone throne. His deep cold eyes were like the pupils of a cat, shocked and surprised. Chapter 17:02. Mountains and rivers were pierced through, and the sky collapsed. Rumble. Along with the chaotic thunderbolts that tore through the 9 heavens, over a dozen flowing cloud golden boats that resembled gigantic beasts charged out from the layers of whirlpools. A terrifying pressure crushed the earth and rivers. Every giant ship of drift cloud carried more than 100,000 soldiers on it. This time, the Six-Clan Alliance had come out in full force. They did not hold back against the Samsara, Chaos, and Dragon Blood races. And this army's target was one of the Six Paths worlds, the Beast Dao world. Rumble. The winds howled and thunder rumbled. Wherever the giant flowing cloud ship went, violent and chaotic whirlwinds would be dragged out of the void. The airflow between the heavens and the earth was split apart along the way. It was a majestic scene, and its might shook the heavens. On the leading giant flowing cloud ship, in the half-open front cabin, Heavenly Mystery Palace Lord Mu Fei, Chu Hen, Yin Fushu, Li Wushang, Long Qingyang, and the others all had solemn expressions. Their eyes were filled with sharpness like unsheathed swords. "After passing through that canyon, we'll reach the entrance to the Beast Dao world," Yin Fushu said. He and the survivors of the Chaos race had been secretly monitoring the Samsara Saint clan for many years, and they were familiar with the terrain of the Six Paths world. Although Mu Fei and Chu Hen were the commanders in this attack on the Beast Dao world, Yin Fushu's information was clearly more important. Chu Hen and Mu Fei exchanged a look. The former asked, "There will be a space barrier, right?" "Yes," Yin Fushu answered. "It's just the outermost layer of the spatial barrier. It's still very easy to break. What I'm more worried about is what kind of ambush they've set up in the Beast Dao world." The few of them nodded slightly, and a meaningful look appeared on their faces. Soon, more than a dozen prehistoric beast-like flowing cloud ships invaded the periphery of the Beast Dao world, bringing along a myriad of thunderclouds and storms. Then at the top of the canyon in front of them, under the clouds, a Lingxiao rooftop came into view from afar. From afar, the structure of the high firmament platform was especially majestic. It was like the legendary southern heavenly gate that led to the celestial palace. The majestic triple door lined up in a row. Roar. The terrifying roar of a ferocious creature could be heard. Looking from afar, one could see a huge dragon figure coiling around the top of the magnificent third heaven gate. The gigantic dragon coiled around the pillar of the triple door like a godly serpent. It looked like a ferocious beast that was guarding the triple door. At the same time, a black mass of people was already waiting below the three giant doors. Ignorant fools, those who dare to trespass into the Six Paths world will be killed without mercy. The war drums were beating in front of them. Looking at the enemy troops stationed outside the Beastao world gate, the people on the giant streamcloud ship couldn't help but clench their weapons. However, Chu Hen and Mu Fei looked at each other, and soon after, a faint smile appeared on their faces. Just charge through, Mu Fei said in a deep voice. What? Everyone was shocked. Barge indirectly? Long Qingyang, who was standing at the back, was a little surprised. He then looked at Chu Hen tentatively. Chu Hen nodded. There's no need to pay attention to these few people outside. Pass down the order, speed up, and charge through. Woo! The majestic and high-spirited sound of a horn echoed across the sky like the roar of a giant beast. Then, a powerful and mighty aura suddenly burst out from each of the giant streamcloud ships. Then, all the gorgeous runes that covered the surface of the ships lit up, one after another, as if they were intertwining with lightning bolts. Looking from afar, it seemed as if a pair of enormous wings of light had unfolded on both sides of the ships. Buzz! The speed of the ships increased exponentially. The unstoppable momentum was comparable to that of a meteor that pierced through the sky. More than a dozen giant ships with terrifying auras and high speed headed straight for the triple heavenly gate ahead. The people guarding the Ling Xiao platform turned pale with fright. They didn't expect the intruders to be so ferocious. Their invasion was so domineering. They didn't even announce the start of the battle. They directly charged over on the giant streamcloud ships. Retreat. The guards panicked and hurriedly changed their formation. However, the flowing cloud arc that had accelerated looked like a gigantic monster that had crashed into the crowd. Like a meteorite, the terrifying impact instantly overturned the opponent's first round of defense. Boom! Bang! One after another, the giant ships of flowing cloud were completely unable to resist. The combatants guarding outside the Beastao world were like a group of beasts that had exploded and were scattered in all directions. There were also a large number of people who were directly torn apart by the impact of the huge force, forcibly exploding into clouds of blood mist. In an instant, all sorts of screams and wails could be heard. Rumble. Bang! The unstoppable drift cloud gigantic ship repeatedly rammed into the high firmament rooftop. Rocks exploded, and a huge hole was quickly opened up on the high firmament rooftop. Buzz, buzz. At the same time, the third heaven gate on the Ling Xiao terrace flashed with a series of dazzling lights. The dragon shadow that coiled around the pillar also let out a sinister howl. It was as if it was warning the invaders. However, the dozen or so prehistoric beasts didn't seem to have any intention of stopping. They broke through the first layer of defense, overturned countless guards, and arrived above the third heaven gate. The wind was fierce, and the clouds were furious. In the sky above the triple door, a magnificent formation door appeared. The ancient secret tome flickered in the sky, and the brilliant array gate outlined an ever-changing wheel of light. Inside the wheel of light, a storm spun as if it was a spatial eye. It's a barrier, Yin Fushu said in a deep voice. Just charge in. Mu Fei tried to calm everyone down again. If it was an ordinary golden streamcloud ship, it probably wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure of the spatial barrier. However, these giant streamcloud ships were all super warships that the Six Clan Alliance had spent a huge amount of resources to build. Moreover, They had been enhanced by the runes of many powerful runes of the divine mystery palace. Their sturdiness was extraordinary. Immediately, Chu Hen, Mu Fei, and the others' first giant stream cloud ship rammed into the storm wheel of light above the third heaven gate like a sheep. Rumble. Once they met, the giant stream cloud ship seemed to have pierced into the eye of the storm. A vast light screen spread out, and the sky shook violently. However, even though the sky was collapsing and hurricanes were stirred up, the giant stream cloud ship's advance didn't slow down in the slightest. The first giant stream cloud ship directly faced the impact of the endless lightning and passed through the barrier gate. Then the second, third, fourth, one after another, the giant stream cloud ships invaded the Beast Dao realm, with ferocious beasts tearing them apart. In just a few blinks of an eye, the entrance of the Beast Dao realm was a mess. The first line of defense didn't hinder Chu Hen's side in the slightest. Rumble. More than 10 giant stream cloud ships rushed out of the light wheel in the sky. Inside the Beast Dao realm, what appeared in front of Chu Hen, Mu Fei, Yin Fushu, and the others was an extremely steep and majestic mountain range. Right in front of them, the mountain range that traversed the east and west was like a huge great wall. On the other side of the mountain range, there was a sudden flash flood that set off a majestic momentum that soared into the sky. Terrifying, ferocious beasts with ferocious auras crawled out from the depths of the mountain range. The ferocious beasts of all sizes were of different shapes. There were giants covered in rock armor. There were earth dragons with thorns on their backs. There were also monsters with multiple heads. The Beast Dao realm. It was just like its name suggested. In this realm, there was a large army of ferocious beasts. Roar, roar. Accompanied by sharp and ear-piercing roars, the terrifying, ferocious beasts quickly climbed to the top of the Great Wall. Their eyes shone with an evil light. Looking at the countless ferocious beasts in the distance, Mu Fei's eyes flashed with a domineering light. Open the cabin. Buzz. Following Mu Fei's order, the top of all the giant stream cloud ships slowly opened up from middle. Like a carapace splitting open to both sides, the entire cabin of the giant stream cloud ship immediately opened up. The expedition army on the giant ark was completely exposed. Whoosh! The piercingly cold air caused the armor to tremble and the hair to dance wildly. Chu Hen, Mu Fei, Yin Fushu, and the other commanders were like the rulers of the world as they rapidly approached the Great Wall. Kiki. Countless ferocious beasts let out ear-piercing roars. Then, the beasts leaped up into the sky and rushed toward the 10 giant stream cloud ships in front of them. The dense horde of beasts covered the sky. They were so dense that they were like locusts, dancing wildly in the sky. However, Mu Fei was not flustered at all. He raised his left hand and said, "Raise long crossbows." Whoosh! Accompanied by the sound of metal chains being pulled, rows of mechanical crossbows rose from the cabins of the giant stream cloud ships behind them. Each crossbow was more than 100 meters long, and on the crossbows, there were huge arrows that were more than 200 meters long. Moreover, there were 2 huge willow leaf-shaped fins at the end of each arrow. Open the bows. Mu Fei ordered. Gotcha! Dozens of people quickly pulled the strings of the crossbows back, and the huge arrows flew diagonally toward the sky in front of them. An extremely sharp aura spread out. Release the arrows, Mu Fei shouted. Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, the huge arrows instantly erupted with the momentum of piercing through the clouds, tearing through the air and drawing arcs in the void toward the many beasts in front of them. As they moved, the willow leaf-shaped fins at the end of the huge arrows rotated rapidly. They were like the rotating blades of a guillotine. With the rapidly spinning tail fan blades, the rotating giant arrows killed the vicious beasts one after another, tearing them into pieces. The willow leaf-shaped fins at the end of the arrows were like meat mincing machines. Once the ferocious beasts were swept by the arrows, they would all be smashed into clouds of blood mist. Chapter 17:03. Whoosh! Whoosh! One after another, The giant, cloud-piercing arrows erupted with a piercing, killing intent that could destroy everything in its path. The willow leaf-shaped tails of the giant arrows rotated rapidly like a high-speed whirlwind, sweeping across a large area and directly charging into the dense horde of beasts that blotted out the sky. Boundless sharpness tore through the air. The sky was filled with bloody mist and minced meat. Anyone hit by the spinning tails of the giant arrows was instantly torn to pieces. Woo! Woo! In the beast-dow realm, the beasts roared. A dense horde of fierce beasts directly leaped from the tall Great Wall. Mufei continuously gave the order to attack. Fire! The large crossbows on the dozen giant ships were pulled into the shape of a full moon. Accompanied by the passionate vibrations of the bowstrings, a series of rapid and sharp wind-piercing sounds stacked up one after another. Huge arrows that were 200 to 300 meters long dragged beautiful flowing shadows across the sky. In a rapid movement, the willow leaf tails at the ends of the arrows formed circles of extremely destructive golden light whirlpools under the drive of the airflow. Bang! 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 Under the sweeping attacks of the spinning tails, a large number of fierce beasts were smashed to pieces. The horde of fierce beasts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth like a swarm of locusts were blasted into huge holes. Amazing. On the leading ship, Long Qingyang, Li Wushang, Yi Yao, and the others all looked amazed. As expected of the mysterious heavenly palace, to be able to develop such a powerful long-range crossbow. Yin Fushu also exclaimed in admiration. Gazing at the group of beasts that were being destroyed one after another, many astonishments surged out from Chu Hen's eyes. After a few rounds of attacks, the other side's formation was a complete mess. Woo! Ah! A series of giant arrow vortexes swept out, and many of the beasts were directly dispersed. The Alliance's giant ship army was unstoppable. Soon, they charged into the sky above the Great Wall. Without a doubt, the two waves of attack and defense from the Beast-Dow realm could not stop Chu Hen's side at all. However, right at this moment, on a high ground behind the Great Wall mountain range, rows of wide cannons rose one after another. On top of the turrets were especially large catapults. That is, Long Qingyang's eyes darkened. The expressions of Chu Hen, Mu Fei, Yin Fushu, and the others turned serious. Then, the giant catapults on the high ground behind the Great Wall began to rapidly press down. When the roller reached its lowest point, the disc suddenly bounced up. In an instant, large rocks were thrown into the air in front of them. Just as Chu Hen's group was wondering if the catapult's attack range could reach their height, the rocks that were hurled into the air exploded with extreme speed. Moreover, as they moved, countless dark red-colored talisman markings and secret talismans floated up into appearance on the enormous rocks that flew over. The friction with the air actually produced high-temperature heat energy. In just a few blinks of an eye, the surface of the flying boulder immediately ignited with scorching flames. The scorching aura pressed down like a meteorite flying towards them. It's the power of the rock's sacred clan's molten core, Yin Fushu said solemnly. What? As soon as he finished speaking, the huge flaming rocks that were flying towards him were like meteorites from outer space, crashing into him head-on. Everyone on the ship subconsciously raised their palms and fists to defend themselves. However, under the pressure of the external force, all the flaming rocks exploded in the air around the ship like exploding sparks. Bang! Boom! One after another, the flaming boulders tore through the void, creating a violent flaming storm that looked like a terrifying wave that could overturn the heavens. Ring after ring of flames surged up into the sky. The strong and violent shock waves kept striking the inside and outside of the ship, and made the ship sway violently and uneasily, even though it was carrying the army. The people on the ship also felt a little uncomfortable from the tremors. Bang! Rumble! A rain of fire blossomed in the sky, scorching red flames filling the sky. Another round of flaming boulders flew across the sky, erupting with monstrous destructive power. The earth-shattering red fireballs pressed down rapidly, each of which seemed to contain the destructive power of a volcanic eruption. After 2 consecutive rounds of explosions, the ships sailing in the sky above the Beastdow realm seemed to have encountered a violent storm that swept through the sky. There were even a few ships that had holes that were hundreds of feet wide on the side of the ship. The ship shook uneasily, and the troops on it could not stand steadily. Some of them even vomited blood incessantly. Swoosh! Whoosh! Soon, a new round of attacks came. This time, hundreds and thousands of large fireballs wrapped in boulders flew from the back of the Great Wall mountain range ahead. It was an extremely spectacular scene, as if a meteor shower was falling from the sky. Everyone on the giant flowing cloud ship could see the rapidly approaching rain of fireballs in their eyes. More than half of the drift cloud giant ship will be destroyed by this wave of attacks. However, the Heavenly Mystery Palace Lord Mu Fei did not panic at all. Heaven's Net formation, she said coldly. Yes. As soon as she finished speaking, the Saint-level rune masters of the Heavenly Mystery Palace on each ship all released a surge of vigorous Reiki energy. Along with it, countless runes that looked like starlight butterflies appeared and flickered. Many Saint-level rune masters worked together. A loud and impassioned sound wave stacked up. An incomparably spectacular golden arc-shaped sky screen actually appeared in front of the ship team. The huge sky screen was like a veil cast by a deity. All of the huge fireballs flying towards them were blocked by the outside. Then, when all the fireballs stopped moving, Mu Fei shouted again, Heaven's Net formation, the way of the man, his way. The moment Mu Fei finished speaking, many Saint-level rune masters of the Heavenly Mystery Palace changed their hand seals at the same time. Then the huge arc-shaped sky screen in front of them immediately shone with dazzling spirit rune light. Along with a huge rebounding force, all the fireballs and rocks were bounced back. Rumble, thunder, and fire filled the sky as if lighting up lightning. The earth-shattering meteor rain directly returned along the original path, falling towards the many cannons behind the Great Wall. Not good. The Sacred Rock clan members behind the Great Wall were shocked. Before they could even put up a defense, the dense rain of meteors came crashing down. Bang! Boom! Mountains and rivers exploded, the earth shook. Every fireball that fell, the explosive force hidden within the rocks, immediately flipped the ground. Wave after wave of violent energy surged inside and outside the Beastdow realm mountain range. One after another, the high ground cannons were razed to the ground. The catapults above, along with the Rock Saint tribe members, were all destroyed. The wave of fire spread wantonly, sweeping inside and outside the Great Wall mountain range like a prairie fire. Many beasts were also jumping up and down from the explosion. What a Heaven's Net formation! It actually all bounced back. Everyone was amazed by the ability of the Heavenly Mystery Palace and Mu Fei. Rumble, at that moment, wind and thunder rumbled in the sky ahead of them. Along with the chaotic storm that wreaked havoc in the nine heavens, mighty giant flowing cloud ships sailed through the dark clouds. Tens of thousands of elite soldiers were gathered on the giant flowing cloud ship. Moreover, there were actually majestic flying beasts circling around the two wings of the giant ark, as well as the front and back of the main position. Each of the flying beasts was extremely sturdy, and they moved extremely fast. On the backs of those flying beasts, there were warriors wearing battle armor and helmets, holding long spears and sharp swords. On their neat armor, there was a pattern of an eagle's head engraved. The corners of Li Wuxiang's eyes narrowed as he said, "It's the Imperial Beast Sacred Clan's Sky Hunters." The Imperial Beast Sacred Clan. This was a very special clan. The bloodline of this sacred clan was very strange. Perhaps it wasn't particularly outstanding in terms of amplification of power, but their bloodline had a very strong innate affinity and control with demon beasts. They could almost perfectly coordinate with the demon beasts in battle. As for the Sky Hunters, they could be said to be a group of warriors with the ability to surround and kill. Whoosh! Whoosh! The black mass of hunters in the air were like ancient dragon riders, charging towards Chu Hen's side with lightning speed. The ships of the two sides were like two groups of prehistoric beasts that were about to meet. Kill. Those who offend the Six Paths world die. The newcomer roared in a stern voice. Humph, a bunch of villains in cahoots. Mu Fei's eyes were filled with coldness. Then, she raised a hand and shouted, Kill! The order to fight was given. The war had erupted. The moment the orders were given, the enemies on the ships all leaped out of their cabins and charged toward the enemy's camp with monstrous killing intent. The most chaotic moment of the war had quietly arrived. Chapter 1704. A great battle ensued. Fierce battles broke out in the Beast Dao world. After several rounds of attacks, the army led by Mu Fei and Chu Hen invaded the skies of the Beast Dao world with unstoppable momentum. As the flames of war spread through the mountains below, the Imperial Beast Sacred Clan Sky Hunters and a vast enemy army met them head-on. The Rock Sacred Clan. The Imperial Beast Sacred Clan. These two sacred clans were allied with Samsara, Desolate, and Dragon Blood Sacred Clans. Although the strength of these two clans was not particularly strong, it was still not enough. But this was the Beast Dao world. The Imperial Beast Sacred Clan was born with the ability to get close to beasts. It was equivalent to having an absolute home advantage. Screech! Screech! The Imperial Beast Saint Clan's army of flying beasts swarmed over, their powerful gales stirring up the thunderclouds in the sky. Kill! Fight! Chu Hen, Mu Fei, and the numerous warriors on their side also rose together. They unsheathed their swords and prepared to fight. Boom! Rumble! The flames of war erupted. The two swarms of people were like a swarm of locusts and moths meeting in the sky. The spectacular scene made the mountains and rivers dim, and the world lose its color. The sounds of killing that could destroy the heavens and the earth rang out. Hiss! The sky hunters riding on flying beasts streaked across the sky like lightning, the spears in their hands flickering with blinding light. Accompanied by the sharp sound of flesh being pierced, the spear pierced through the chest of one of the warriors. Screech! The flying beast's sharp claws slashed down, tearing the warrior to pieces. The gazes of Long, Qingyang, Yi Yao, Li Wuxiang, and the others on the leading vessel turned cold as they gazed at the murderous enemies that covered the sky and seemed like a group of hunting devils. Umph! A mere Imperial Beast Sacred Clan dares to stop us. Li Wuxiang snorted and leaped into the air, his deep eyes bursting with demonic purple light. Demonic flame storm. Screech! The moment Li Wuxiang finished speaking, a torrential violet flame storm appeared in the sky, filled with flying beasts. For example, a purple tornado that tore the sky apart, a destructive shockwave that was as vast as a tsunami surged in all directions in the void. Hordes of ferocious beasts and beast tamer Sacred Clan hunters were devoured by the purple demonic flame tornado. Chaotic waves of chi overturned the vast sky. However, a dozen or so subdued hunters with biting cold auras rode lizards covered in black scales and with fleshy wings on their backs through the violent purple storm. They raised their spinning light spears and attacked Li Wuxiang. Oomph! The demonized Saint Clan has already declined. Don't try to find a sense of existence here. You want to fight against the reincarnation Saint Clan? Dream on. The leader was as powerful as a dragon. A cold light arrived first, and then countless streams of light intertwined on the tip of the spear. The dragon-like, dazzling light spear tore open a spatial crack in the void and stabbed towards Li Wuxiang's throat. Li Wuxiang's expression changed slightly. His purple pupils contracted slightly, and the 8 black dots in the depths of his pupils spun. 8-star demon eye, destruction demon spirit. Boom! In an instant, endless purple whirlwinds revolved around Li Wuxiang in the void, intertwining with each other. Countless streaks of light enveloped Li Wuxiang, forming a transparent, illusory purple shadow. Screech! Sharp waves of air whistled through the air. Li Wuxiang's expression was domineering. Demon spirit, void, disintegration. Whoosh! Li Wuxiang's mountain-like divine might shook the heavens as he transformed into a 3,000-meter-tall, Nirvana devil spirit. He was like an ancient, giant war god, holding a sky-splitting sword in his hands. The sword was covered in purple runes, and its sharpness was unparalleled. Bang! The beast hunter that was charging towards Li Wuxiang was caught off guard. Before the spear in its hand could even touch Li Wuxiang, it was forcefully pushed back by Li Wuxiang's monstrous force. However, before he could stabilize himself, Li Wuxiang suddenly raised the huge sword in his hand and slashed out with the momentum of slashing through the air. Buzz! The earth-splitting, sky-splitting sword aura was like a vertical beam of light, slashing straight at the person in front of him. That person's expression changed drastically. Panicked and hurried cries were stuck in his throat. His opponent's body and the giant beast beneath him were forcibly split in half. Whoosh! Blood splattered, and internal organs flew everywhere. Purple light flowed in the eyes of the destruction demon spirit that Li Wuxiang had transformed into. He once again slashed horizontally. Even if my demonized sacred clan has declined, it's enough to destroy you all. It's enough to destroy you all. Boom! It was like a bolt of lightning, its sharpness dazzling the sky. The horizontal purple sword aura was like a circular shockwave that whistled out. Any subdued hunter that was hit exploded into a bloody mist along with his beast. It's the demon spirit void disintegration? The serious star guard Rao Felwan couldn't help but be shocked. But then he felt relieved and murmured, Li Wuxiang, you're still ahead of me. If that's the case, then let's see who kills more enemies. With that, Rao Felwan also stepped into the air and unleashed his powerful demon eye power, throwing himself into the battle. Boom! At the same time, the flowing cloud giant arcs of both sides met in the void. The chaotic scene continued to expand. The ground inside and outside the Great Wall mountain range continued to collapse. As the mountains and valleys collapsed, colossal creatures covered in magma armor rushed out of the ground. They were like ferocious beasts that broke through ancient seals. All kinds of living creatures in the Beastao realm quickly joined the battle. Apart from the Imperial Bee Sacred Clan's aerial hunting team, many powerhouses from the Rock Sacred Clan also joined the battle. The cold spears were sharp, and the swords were like shadows. Blood splattered in the sky, and murderous intent filled the air. Even though the Imperial Bee Sacred Clan and the Rock Sacred Clan had the geographical advantage, their formation was a little chaotic under the powerful charge of the occult Heavenly Palace and the Demon Ice Sacred Clan. At that moment, a hurricane suddenly appeared. Then, heaven and earth fell into chaos. Wind swirled in the sky. Under the roar of thunder, more than a dozen huge tornadoes swept over like ancient divine dragons that could devour the sky. This is... Chu Hen squinted his eyes. Such powerful wind power. It must be the Storm Sacred Clan. Yin Fushu said in a low voice. Even the Storm Sacred Clan is in cahoots with the Reincarnation Sacred Clan. Mu Fei's eyes were filled with pity. The tornadoes swept over extremely quickly. Everywhere they passed, the sky and earth darkened, and the mountains and rivers shattered. Rivers and waterfalls flowed in reverse. Boom! Then, more than a dozen tornadoes that looked like raging dragons directly attacked the many flowing cloud giant arcs on Chu Hen's side. The steady flowing cloud giant arcs seemed to have sunk deep into the sea in a typhoon. They swayed and shook violently. What was even more shocking was that the endless storm that covered the sky was mixed with countless ring-shaped wind blades. Hiss! Chi! The extremely powerful ring-shaped wind blades continuously slashed down, leaving numerous scratches on the flowing cloud giant arcs. At the same time, many of the Alliance's conscripts were cut open and their limbs were separated. Storm's sacred body. It possessed extremely fast and powerful bloodline boundary power. Under such an attack, the Alliance's conscript army was immediately thrown into disarray. Whoosh! Amidst the howling wind, a large number of Storm Sacred Clan experts rode the wind and joined the battle with the Rock Sacred Clan and the Imperial Bee Sacred Clan. Clan leader Lu Yu, even you have chosen to go along with them? Mu Fei, who was standing on the lead boat, frowned slightly. Her eyes were like torches as she looked at a middle-aged man surrounded by countless tornadoes. The man was burly and had a rather imposing appearance. The cyan whirlwind enveloped his back like a pair of shadow wings, forming a pair of cyan wings of wind. The middle-aged man, called Lu Yu, was none other than the clan leader of the Storm-Sacred clan. He was also a powerful existence that was infinitely close to becoming a great emperor. Palace leader Mu Fei, I really don't want to meet you under such circumstances, Lu Yu said in a deep voice. Then why are you doing this? The Reincarnation Sacred Clan is the chosen one. They should be in charge of the Celestial the Arch Token, so that the human race can enjoy peace. Lu Yu replied. Mu Fei sighed softly. But the Reincarnation Sacred Clan is heartless. They harm the other sacred clans for their own selfish desires. How are they any different from tyrants if they are in charge of the Celestial the Arch Token? Lu Yu shook his head. As the saying goes, a general success is built on the bones of 10,000 people. No one is more suitable to lead the human race than the Reincarnation Sacred Clan. Forget it. Mu Fei sighed helplessly. There's no point in talking anymore. The war of the 10 races is inevitable. It doesn't matter who is right or wrong anymore. It didn't matter who was right or wrong anymore. Mu Fei was the one who said this, not Lu Yu of the Storm Sacred Clan. There was no right or wrong in a war. The Reincarnation Sacred Clan wanted to rule the human race. On the other hand, the Reincarnation Sacred Clan only wanted to live. To live, there was no right or wrong. On the battlefield, there is no right or wrong. Everyone has their own master. Palace Master Mu Fei doesn't need to show mercy. Similarly, we will not show mercy, Lu Yu said coldly. Mu Fei let out a deep breath. Kill. On the battlefield, everyone had their own master. With a kill order, the entire Beast Owl world gradually turned into a Shura battlefield. Long Qingyang, Long Xuan, Yao, Dongfang Hengji, Oldine Monkey, and all the other members of the Alliance also took up their swords and joined in the war against the Beast Owl world. The Storm Sacred Clan, the Imperial Beast Sacred Clan, and the Rock Sacred Clan joined forces with countless beasts of the Beast Owl world to launch a frenzied attack. It was truly chaotic. Looking from afar, the huge Beast Owl world had completely turned into a chaotic battlefield of destruction. In the sky, the earth, densely packed figures of humans and beasts. Sky hunters riding flying beasts shuttled through the crowd like lightning. The whirlwinds in the sky wantonly cut off limbs. At the same time, the war in the other realms also broke out. Six Pads World. The war began. The world changed.